All right, we're good.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. It's like I always wonder like people wish somebody a happy birthday. It's like the only time it's an accomplishment is when you live in South Central Los Angeles. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Otherwise, it's like okay. I mean, Baruch Hashem. I mean, I'm very grateful. Don't get me wrong for having gotten past Shmovid. So that I'm
Yeah.
grateful for. Um, uh, yeah, man. So hey, Tavis, huh?
Hey, Tavis.
So
Hey, Tavis.
I mean, you mentioned this whole thing. I feel like out of all the uh, things that you mentioned that connect Lubavitcher holidays to significant dates with Trump, I feel like Hey Tavis is a big one because
Yeah.
you mentioned the whole thing about a king not being able to uh, you know or how do you know a person's a king when they don't testify in court against themselves or something like that.
A king is not asked to testify
Yeah.
in the Jewish. That's
So
right.
and you mentioned that with this whole situation with the books, with the Chabad books, the Rebbe didn't have to go to court, and that same day it was what was it, 2 years ago, I think it was, or a year ago, it was the trial against I guess Trump,
Yeah.
and he
Let me
didn't
see if I can find
and he didn't
find
have
out.
to.
Hang on, I'll find it.
I mean,
I'll find it.
we spoke about this before. For those of you guys listening, like we spoke about, there was like about what 16 or 17 days.
The list I have is like 15 or 16, right?
Yeah, that are basically Lubavitcher holidays, and those holidays correspond with significant things that Trump did in his presidency. And by significant, we mean like there's no mistaking their significance.
Directly, there's
And
nothing, nothing, vague about it.
yeah, and it's usually for like Israel, the Jews in America, and or Israel.
I can read the list again, if you want.
Yeah, you
but
should. You
I
should.
found.
You should read it.
You want me to read it right now?
Yeah,
I can
please.
go
Just to
quickly.
it's like review. It's like that, like you have a new school year and you're learning the
I think
stuff from.
some things are worth repeating.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. 19th of Kislev, Yutes Kislev, the year 5777. That corresponds with December 19th, 2016. President Trump is voted to be the 45th president of the United States.
By the electoral college.
By the electoral, right, the electors, correct. Okay, 11th of Nisan, Yud Aleph Nisan of the year 5777. Corresponds with April 6th, 2017. Okay, so it says in Eretz Israel it was night, so it was already Yud Aleph Nisan there.
What is Yud Aleph Nisan? What is that holiday?
It's the Rebbe's birthday.
Okay.
So Trump strikes Syria's Assad's forces in his first large military strike. That had to do with finally, doing something. If people recall, Obama and his red line, which was perpetually being stepped over, by Assad, who was a perpetual line stepper. He was a perpetual line stepper.
Had to whip his ass.
Had to whip his ass, and Trump whipped his ass. All right, moving on. Yutes Kislev of the year 5778. This corresponds with December 6th, 2017. Okay, and already in Eretz Israel, it was nighttime, so it was already Yutes Kislev there. And it is officially announced to the whole world that Yerushalayim is the capital of Eretz Israel. That's the American government that made that announcement. So, it's very significant. Okay, so we have, and then we have the 8th night of Hanukkah, called Zos Hanukkah,
which is my Hebrew birthday.
Which is his Hebrew birthday, 5 of the year 5778, which corresponds to December 20th, 2017. Shalom Rubashkin, Shalom Mordechai Rubashkin is commuted. His sentence is commuted. He's released.
B'ezrat
after being
Hashem, B'ezrat Hashem, Bli Ayin Hara, in a week from Motzei Shabbos, my sister is going to have her l'chaim in the home of, I guess, his brother on President Street.
Amen.
The
Amen.
Rubashkin house. So those of you guys don't know, like, this is a person who opens up his home for Bachrim, for students every, what is it, I guess, Tishrei? And during Sukkot, he has like a giant, dude, you know that I actually went to the, the Google Maps of the address, and then I did the whole, the satellite thing. You actually see the house. And what is it a picture of? That giant sukkah that spans like half the block on Google Maps. It's so funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And the person just opens up his house and he has like this giant sukkah and free food, and like you can go, you go down to the basement. It's just like, it looks like a yeshiva. He just sets up cots for like hundreds of guys. It's crazy. There's like nothing like it, I don't think, in terms of like the Hesed,
There's a story that I heard from I can't recall if it was directly from the Bacher or from someone related to the Bacher, where there's a Bacher, obviously not a rich guy, and he needed a little help to somehow raise money to have a wedding. To have this.
Yeah.
And parents were, I don't know if they were involved or they couldn't be involved. Mm-hmm. And somebody told him go ask Rubashkin. He might be able to help you.
Yeah.
So he went to him and he said, I'm collecting for my wedding, for the cost to set everything up, the Hasana and the celebration. Mm-hmm. And Rubashkin was a little bit shicker. Huh. A little bit. He's been for bringing. Yeah. So he took out basically like a roll of cash, large bills, and he gave him a couple, and the bacher was stunned. A couple of $100 or something like that. He was stunned, and then he started walking away, and he realized, well, wait a minute, this might have not been kosher, because he may have not known what he's doing, because he's a little bit shicker. He may have not realized. I mean, it's ridiculous.
For those of you guys who are shickers, the guy was drunk.
Right. And so basically, and he came back to him. I'm not sure if he came back to him right away or a little bit later, when he was already a little bit when he had sobered up a bit. Mm-hmm. Maybe later that day, or later the evening, or maybe the next day. And then he said, Mr. Rubashkin, actually he's a Rabbi Rubashkin. He said, I think you may have given me, this is, you may have accidentally given me, these very large bills. And I think it was because maybe, you were for bringing and you had a couple. He's like, I gave you that. He goes, I should have given you the whole wad. Yeah. The reason I didn't is because I was shicker.
Yeah, he wouldn't. Yeah.
And then he gave him the entire thing. Basically, I probably paid for it whole.
That's incredible. For the whole thing. Honestly, that doesn't sound like such a far-fetched story, because it's
not. It's not a far-fetched story. This is real.
Yeah, no, I'm saying when you go there on the holidays and you see what goes on there, you realize this person is involved in a lot of hesed all the time.
Yeah. So just to reel it back in. So Zos Hanukkah, 8th night of Hanukkah, which is also Greg's Hebrew birthday, 57 of the year 5778, which corresponds to December 20th of 2017. So Hashem sent Trump to commute the sentence of Rabbi Rubashkin. Yeah. Okay.
I was in Israel at that time, and I was
big celebration.
I was marveling at what I was watching on YouTube.
Yeah,
I was just marveling.
Okay, so the Kvitza Sedera, we'll talk about that. Mm-hmm. So 28th, next one, 28th of Sivan. Mm-hmm. That's Koach Sivan, right? Chaf Het Sivan. So that's Koach, right? Yeah. Chaf Het. Koach Sivan. The strength, the power of Sivan. So the 28th of any month is the power of that month. Mm-hmm. So Power of Sivan, 5778. The day the Rebbe came to the United States of America, and then he declared it as the day that we begin fixing the lowest elements in the world.
Wow.
This was corresponding to June 11th of 2018. And so what happened? It was the first historical meeting of a U.S. president with the world's foremost dictator of a country with, the lowest possible standard of like living and life that it can be imaginable. Yes, even worse than India or places like that. So people literally just dying in the streets from starvation. So he met up with King Jong-un, right? And he's the first president to do so. The lowest leader in the world, the lowest country in the world.
That's interesting. Okay? So he went to like,
Yeah, and no other president was able to do that before or since, obviously. Okay, next, Purim of the year 5779. This corresponds with March 21st. It's my dad's birthday. So President Trump tweets that it is time to recognize the Golan as part of Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so Purim, it's a universal Jewish holiday, right? But there's something very Chabadish about Purim. You understand? Like, Purim's all about Mashiach. Purim's all about farbringing, right? It's Anyway, everybody's Chabad.
Not only that, but like fast redemptions. Kind of like things that turn on their head in like a blink of an eye.
Yeah. All right, so we have Yud Aleph Nisan, the 11th of Nisan of the year 5779. This is the Rebbe's birthday, okay? And this corresponds this time with April 16th, 2019. Now, this is a little bit controversial, but so Notre Dame goes up in flames. Okay? Now, that's not really a cause for celebration. When something goes up in flames, there's a danger to human life whenever something like that occurs. But there is a message there. That structure was built as an FU to the Jew, literally.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
It's not like they're like, we're going to build a beautiful church, which is going to be a wonderful, heartwarming place of pilgrimage for all of Christendom. No, we're going to build a building which symbolizes that Christians triumph over the rejected Jews.
Yeah, it was a middle finger to us. It was like replacement theology plus middle finger.
Right. It was like, so that's kind of, somebody could get their feelings hurt. When somebody builds a giant, elaborate structure, Gothic, building, which symbolizes like, something stupid.
It's kind of like when the Muslims built recently the mosque near Ground Zero.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly. So, and if anybody doubts that, that's what that building symbolizes, right? The Notre Dame, right? The lady, right? So, what lady are we talking about here? So we're talking about the lady of Christendom. Christendom is symbolized as a lady. Now there's a statue on not just the Notre Dame, but there's also other cathedrals where you find statues like this. But in Notre Dame, you'll see a statue where you have a beautiful, triumphant, kind of like goddess-looking type statue, right? And looking all triumphant, right? And that represents Christendom. And then you have a lowly, fallen, decrepit woman lying on the floor, not looking triumphant. So that would be the Jews. Okay, so so symbolically, as a structure, something that represents replacement theology and the denigration of the Jewish people, or the rejection, right? Like, God forbid, God would reject or go back on His word, right? That is a negative message. Okay, so that message so the message that building was burned, and I'm hoping that no one was hurt. I don't think anybody was, but as a building, good riddance.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the Rebbe's birthday.
We weren't crying. Let's put it that way.
Wasn't crying over that particular building. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So So that's, I think it's significant that was, that happened. Okay. Now, next, the 27th of Tishrei. I hadn't been able to speak to Rabbi Wolf about this precisely. I'm not exactly sure how it fits in, and hopefully that when you get him on the show, God willing, he'll be able to explain this. Okay, so this is the 27th of Tishrei of the year 5780. It corresponds to October 27th, 2019. Okay, so in Washington, there were orders given to track down and kill Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, who's the leader of ISIS, and during the raid by U.S. troops, instead of being killed by him, he ended up killing himself. Okay, so this was the orders were given on Shabbos. Okay. And this is Shabbat Bereshit.
25th of Tishrei, I'm looking now, is actually the Yortzeit of Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev.
Okay, I'm not sure how that.
I don't know.
As far as things being connected, there's probably a connection there. I'm not sure how.
Holidays in Tishrei. I mean, there's all there is you got Simchas Torah, but that's the 22nd. Or 23rd. That's Shmini Atzeret. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Perhaps we're talking about Shabbos Bereshis, right?
Could be.
There's a pattern. There's a pattern established.
Yeah.
Even like just the first chapter of Bereshis, right?
Yeah.
Where there's darkness and then there comes light. So the light overwhelms the darkness. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
It's also Shabbos Mevorchim that blesses, I guess, Heshvan.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking at now. Yeah.
We'll see what the rabbi says.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Okay. So next, the 20th of Heshvan, 5780. This is the birthday of the 5th Chabad Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab. Among his many, many accomplishments, he fought for the establishment of a yeshiva and a yishuv in Hebron. Okay, so Hebron, you could look at Hebron as like the quote unquote for all the quote unquote disputed territories. It is the what's the word? What am I trying
the most contested?
The archetype.
Yeah.
The archetype. The flagship of that whole concept, right?
Yeah.
Hebron, right?
Yeah.
If any city is the most Jewish city ever, Hebron, right? So obviously it has to be the most contended. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he fought for the establishment of the Rebbe Rashab fought for the establishment of the yeshiva and the yishuv there. Okay.
Yeah.
So and this coincided with November 18th, 2019. So on this day, Mike Pompeo announced a historic reversal of U.S. policy that stated that Israeli settlements are, he said that Israeli settlements are not illegal, not automatically illegal, because until that point, it was treated like they were inherently illegal. He reversed that.
Yeah.
So that doesn't seem to be a coincidence that coincided with the Rebbe who was deeply involved in that issue.
You know how we know that the whole thing with Judea and Samaria it goes beyond politics and it just goes right to the heart of like something ethereal and something connected, something that you can connect back all the way to like the whole idea of Eisav, Sonnet, Yaakov, that like something so blatantly ours can be so consistently like denied to us or ideologically denied to us by the by your
I have
by
a good
the
metaphor.
what's up?
I have a good metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for all the Jewish people, right? Imagine we're all just a big family. We live in the same house,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, some of us are like, this is our home, and it's our home. It's not even a question. It just goes, we're not in conflict about it.
Yeah.
Okay? There's those who are mentally stable, right?
Yeah.
Our brothers and sisters that are mentally stable, right?
Yeah.
And so then we have some of our brothers and sisters that are not mentally stable or emotionally stable. Mm-hmm. And they are in conflict about whether or not they deserve this home or whether or not this is their home in the first place, which of course it is. Yeah. So they decide to let squatters in to the house, endangering everybody else.
Yeah.
Understand?
Mm-hmm.
It's a psychosis. If all of the brothers and sisters all went to their rooms in the house and just understood that this is their home and shut up about it, none of these issues would be going on in the world.
Yeah, true.
Anyway, so shall I continue?
Yeah.
So here comes, here's the first, so we have the 13th of Kislev, Didan Natsach. Is that right?
No, Didan Natsach, Yud, I'm sorry, not Yud, Hey Tavis.
Hey Tavis, I'm sorry, yeah. that was a, 1 second. Okay, no, this is related. I'm sorry, this is related to Didan Natsach.
Yeah.
Didan Natsach is the day when it was declared that the books belonged to the Hasidim.
Yeah.
Okay? But it was on the 13th of Kislev that it was the day that it was decided that the Rebbe doesn't need to testify in the Sfarim trial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Which is very, very, very significant because the Rebbe, Hasidim and many other people also, they look at the Rebbe as a king, right? As the leader of the generation and the potential Mashiach.
Yeah.
Right? So as we know, we've stated before, the king doesn't testify according to Jewish law, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that he wasn't forced to testify by secular law, right, which was there was a very high potential that that they would have tried to press that he would have to testify. The fact that it was determined that he didn't was taken, I think rightfully so, as a sign from Hashem.
Does that mean that Bibi is not a king since he has to sit? I mean, he sits in court as people testify against him. He also has to probably testify.
I think that. Okay, we could safely say that, yes, among other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened on that day? Okay, so that happened, the day that the Rebbe was told he didn't, or the Hasidim were told the Rebbe doesn't have to testify, that was in 5746.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But, so the anniversary of that day, closer to our time, what happened when it comes to Trump, right? So, so in the year 5780, right, which coincided with December 11th, 2019. Let me say it again. 13th of Kislev, 5780. That coincided with December 11th, 2019. Trump signs executive order to combat a specific type of anti-Semitism, right?
Yeah.
It's a concept which would define the Jewish people as a nationality.
Yeah.
Or to deny that they are a nationality.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting because he basically, the only other people to do that, the only other government that did that was, in the Soviet Union when they put on our passports, Yivrei. So that's kind of like a different way of doing that, but for different reasons, obviously. But in a way, it helped us
when it was convenient, right? Whereas when it was convenient, for negative purposes, they didn't mind saying that we were Jews by nationality.
But in
right?
a way, it actually helped us to remember who we are. Like, you know,
of course.
They did that for all the peoples of the different, you know, they did that for Uzbeki, Azerbaijan, you know, Azeris,
Yeah, sure.
Gruzini, Armenians,
Yeah,
Lithuanians, Latvians. So
okay, so just to kind of tighten this one up, because this was a little bit, you know, I'm gonna do a quick review.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 13th day of Kislev in the year 5746. That's 86, right? That was 1986, I believe. So.
Mm-hmm.
So the Rebbe, it was declared that he didn't have to testify,
mm-hmm.
which was a sign to his Hasidim and many others that's God confirming that the Rebbe indeed is a king.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so on 5780, on December 11, on the 13th of Kislev 5780 during
mm-hmm.
Trump's presidency, which corresponds to December 11th, 2019, Trump signs an executive order to combat anti-Semitism that denies
mm-hmm.
the Jewish people as a nationality. So what does that mean? That means that in schools they would teach that the Jews are a religion, and we're not an actual nationality.
Yeah.
Okay. And also in official, you know, with like federal offices, I guess, you know, they wouldn't, because you know, you have to recognize what's a nationality and what's a religion for bureaucratic purposes, right? Yeah. So they wanted to establish that as a fact that the Jews are not a nationality. So President Trump signs some kind of legislation on that day to combat that from occurring, which means Trump is saying, no, Jews are a nationality.
Yep.
So why is that important, and how is that connected to the day that the Rebbe seemed to have been confirmed to be a king? How is that connected? Because a king needs a nation.
Yeah.
So if the king is a king, but the nation is not a nation, then the king is not a king.
Yeah, it's true.
And the other way around too.
Yeah.
Okay, so what has been confirmed? There is a king and there is a nation, as we've known anyway. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's been affirmed, right?
Interesting.
Okay. Now, on the 14th of Kislev, actually it would seem to be the next day.
Mm-hmm.
This is the anniversary of the Rebbe and the Rebbitzins' wedding.
Yeah.
This is corresponds to December 12th, 2019. So what happens? Boris Johnson leads his conservative party to a stunning victory.
Yeah.
A majority of 80 seats in the miracle year of 5780 over the shameful Labour Party led by the known anti-Semite James Corbyn.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about this. I at first couldn't see the connection. I don't really recall what Rabbi Wolf said about this, but something just occurred to me. I don't know if it's my own or I'm just remembering what he said and just feeling it as my own. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so please, like, whatever. But I put it forth anyway, okay? Maybe he can confirm it or deny it.
Sure.
When you get him on the show. The day that the Rebbe got married to the Rebbitzin, right? She's the daughter of the king.
Mm-hmm.
The princess.
Mm-hmm.
The royal. She is the royalty.
Yeah.
So the Rebbe, you know, he not a direct descendant, meaning not a direct son of the previous king, right? Yeah. The Rebbe Rayatz, right? The Frierdiker Rebbe, right? Yeah. Although within the royal family, right? And also the same pedigree, you know, direct descendant of David, right? And many other things, you know, from the Maharal and so on. Okay? Yet not a son of the king.
Yeah.
Okay? So you know, which kind of breaks a pattern from the Rebbeim, right? It would be father, son, father, son, father, son.
Yeah, it was the first one. He was the only one where he wasn't a son of the previous one.
Right. So you know, so that's the, you know, the Rebbitzin, you know, the queen. Right? So so I think that this whole thing about, you know, the connection to the British victory, right? Aside from England being an important Western ally, right? In terms of the Western culture and, you know, Margaret Thatcher, conservatism, and
Also,
a lot of shared
you have
values,
the whole
right?
thing of like, there's a lot of Jews there, and you have the chief rabbi. Well, before it was what's his name, Sachs.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
Right, but when people think of England, they think the Queen, right?
Yeah.
The idea of royalty now, and for the past, I guess, 100 years. How long has it been? I don't know.
It's been basically,
70,
effectively
70
not.
years.
It's like a non-position. She's just a figurehead.
I know, but actually, you'd be surprised. I learned some stuff that it's actually not that simple. Yeah. She does have power.
She does have some, yeah.
Not only is she one of the world's richest people,
yep,
and one of the world's biggest landowners, and many other things, but she also has political power, administrative power as well.
Yeah.
Even over Parliament, that's still there.
Yep.
And the fact that she's such an important symbol in Britain, the other European countries also had royal families and queens and princesses, but like Sweden, like nobody. Like I remember when I was in Antigua, the king and queen of Sweden were vacationing at the hotel over there, and I saw them.
That's cool.
Right, I wouldn't, but try to get near the Queen of England. It's not happening, right?
Yeah. Huh.
Okay, so that's what I saw. Like it was like the king and queen of Sweden, right? Mm-hmm. And then you saw Abramovich's giant, monstrous
that's funny
boat parked. It's a very, very, very funny sight. But anyway, England, the symbol of England is the royalty through the Queen.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Rebbe is part of the Rebbe's connection to become the king. Aside from just inheriting it, is by his uniting with the Queen, the princess, and then the Queen. So there's a connection there. Okay, it has to be something like that. It has to be. I'm not sure. Okay, moving on.
It makes sense.
Okay, it's not a fully formed thought, but there's something there. Yeah. Now, if James Corbyn would have won, then that obviously that would have
that blows up that theory.
that wouldn't have been a good thing. Yeah. So, okay. So now next, the fifth of tables, hay tables, 5780, Didan Nata. That's today, or I guess already yesterday. Mm-hmm. Okay, the day of the victory of the Sfarim.
Yeah.
Now, we should talk about that for a second. What happened was the Frierdiker Rebbe's grandson, wanted to take the books, the writings, the original writings of his grandfather and the previous Rebbeim, and to sell them, crazy. to rare document collectors.
That's really crazy. That's really insane. Because his grandson was like a secular guy or something?
I think so. I mean, I would assume unwell mentally.
Yeah.
Okay. Something it was off. Like almost. It seems like he was almost possessed.
Yeah. I heard the story.
Very unusual. Yeah. Very unusual. Such like.
Yeah.
It's not normal. Do you understand? Like there's something going on there, and it was some kind of mental imbalance or some kind of spiritual imbalance.
Yeah.
Okay? Whatever. Yeah. Okay, but he was very, very relentless, and appeal after appeal, and never gave up. It was just like unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay, but the Rebbitzin, we were just speaking about the Queen, right? Mm-hmm. So apparently she made the difference. She made a statement during those proceedings. I don't know if it was like as a witness or it was a written statement that was read. I don't know, but she said that the writings of her father belonged to the Hasidim because my father belonged to the Hasidim. Mm-hmm. My father himself belonged to them, and so forth. His writings, of course.
Yeah.
So that made a big influence. Apparently, that made the difference.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. So this was. There's a lot about Didan Natzak. There's a lot of hidden things. I think it's Chabad's most recent holiday,
Yeah.
right?
It's
And it has a connection.
It's funny because it's not necessary. It's not like it's not like the New Year of Hasidus. It's not like any of these other holidays. It's a very specific thing, but it's almost like it connects to Mashiach itself, really.
It does, especially those teachings. The primary scholar and the primary activist to bring Mashiach in the world, the writings of that man, who would be the Mashiach himself, had God decided to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are not the average holy writings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to come back to that. There's going to be another one, I believe. Okay. So what happened on Hey Tavis, which is Didad Natzach, the day that the victory of the Sfarim. Okay. So this time it's overlapping with January 2nd, 2020. So what happened? In a surprise, stunning airstrike, the U.S. killed the top Iranian military commander of the Revolutionary Guard, the Quds Brigade, right? The Quds Force.
Yeah, Soleimani.
He killed I forgot his name, but
Soleimani.
Soleimani with his buddy, Abu Mahdi al-Mohandes. Okay?
Interesting.
That's significant because I think maybe his buddy would have possibly taken over operations, because anyway, that's pretty significant because the world's foremost terrorist, mastermind of the lion's share of terrorist acts carried out on Earth, and probably the true leader of Iran.
Yeah. In some ways. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty. I would say that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Okay, next, the 24th of Tavis. Okay, so 5780. Okay, but the 24th of Tavis is the Alter Rebbe's yahrzeit. It coincided with 23rd of January, 2020. So this is the first day of hearings in the trial of President Trump in the U.S. Senate. Okay, so both of these days not exactly positive in a revealed way.
Yeah.
Right. The Alter Rebbe being taken back away from us, and a president going on trial for some kind of injustice.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Anyway, the 10th of Shvat, especially Trump. I mean, specifically Trump. So the 10th of Shvat, 5780. This is the yahrzeit of the 6th of the Frierdiker Rebbe, right?
Yeah.
It's also the anniversary of our Rebbe assuming leadership.
Yeah.
Okay. So that coincided with February 5th, when President Trump is acquitted of all charges.
Yeah.
They couldn't have. There's no possible way that all this could have been coordinated consciously.
I was gonna say, I had this. I mentioned this to you before. I thought it would maybe Ivanka, was asking that rabbi, what's his name, Shem Tov.
Even Ivanka can't arrange this.
Yeah, and it's like, should we do this then? But there's no way that a court case, there's no way that Congress is gonna hold hearings around Lubavitcher holidays. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, right. And the Congress, which is neither in support of Trump or any of the Lubavitcher Rebbe's, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Would decide to let's create a beautiful symbol and a huge victory for both Lubavitch and Trump.
Come on. You know what kills me, man, is we're mentioning all these things and all. You could say you don't like Trump the guy. You don't want to have a beer with him. You don't want to come next to him. You don't like his personality. What is it? It's like Ben Affleck. Tell me you don't like my effing necktie.
they don't have.
But
people who
but
don't
you
like
look,
Trump, they don't understand shtick.
no,
They have
what
no shtick
I
recognition.
no, but forget about that. I'm talking about, like, it's amazing to me how the media managed to literally twist his presidency into nothingness, as if he had, like, even today they're talking about, there's like the January 6th thing that, that they're trying to investigate, and it's like the most disgraceful presidency in this, and it's like, what planet must you live on? I mean, like, the guy, like,
they have to. So one thing that
there's just
the only
zero
silver
MS,
lining that I
zero.
can think of, the only silver lining that I can think of, right, is that anybody this relentless and vindictive is on a complete desperate bender.
Yeah.
They're not thinking straight anymore. They're in pure survival mode, which means they feel that their end is near.
Yeah.
Something is threatening them. To
I
the
mean,
point
Rabbi
where they
Kessin
feel
talks
that
about it.
they're coming to their end,
the Satan
which
is
is why
dying.
they have to act so insane.
Well, Rabbi Kessin mentioned that the Satan is dying, and he's got to fight.
Because the Satan is dying. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the only silver lining that I can see in this. And it's enough already.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was a review of these events. That was just a kind of. It's not a complete list, by the way. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
So now
14 events.
So now it begs the question. We spoke about it. Why would I guess I spoke to Rabbi Kessin about it. He explained it to me in a certain way, but maybe you can give your personal take. Like, why would Hashem bring in a person who's like a leader like this for, I guess, the Western world, or what Rabbi Kessin calls him, a messianic figure of Eisav, to do all of these things, and then remove him, or at least, I guess maybe temporarily remove him. I don't know. Why would that happen? Why would Hashem do that? And do it in such a way where it's like, we saw what happened with the election. I mean, like, it's just, you got to be Stevie Wonder to not see it.
So why?
What?
You're asking why you want me to answer that?
Yeah, no, like, why? Well, yeah, what would be like a hashkafic explanation for this?
Well, so we keep talking about bearer, right?
Yeah.
And so we the wheat should be separated from the chaff, right?
Yeah.
The baby from the bathwater.
Yeah.
Okay. So we know that Eisav is Yitzchak's beloved son, and we know that Eisav had that one, the ultra Yud Hey Vav Hey from Yitzchak. Remember, we were talking about how Yitzchak is Yud Hey Vav Hey times 8.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do the math. I want to make sure, I'm always paranoid because I've never been good at math. Even though I
that's what, 26 times 8. 208.
208. That's Yitzchak. Yeah. That's Gematria Yitzchak. Okay. So Yaakov is 26 times 7.
Interesting.
So Yaakov got 7 of Yitzchak's Yud Hey Vav Heys. Mm-hmm. And who got the 8th? Eisav. But that one Yud Hey Vav Hey is the highest of them all. Now, what these specific Yud Hey Vav Heys represent, that would have to be a different discussion, and I would have to know. I don't. Okay,
yeah.
I don't pretend like I know all about it, and there's just no time to talk about it. That's not the case. Yeah. But I do know that it represents a measure of some kind of holy energy coming into the world. Okay, through these channels. Well, through Yitzchak.
I mean, it's obvious, because I hate to bring this up. Might not be related, or maybe it is. The whole thing of I didn't know until yesterday. You told me yesterday that Eisav killed Nimrod. Nimrod. And I didn't know about this whole Sefer Yashar.
Don't say Nimrod the Israeli way. Say it the right way, the American way.
That's how you pronounce it, man. With the resh.
Nimrod, man. It's Nimrod.
You freaking Nimrod. There was actually there was an Israeli guy in my high school, a Nimrod, and the thing, Nimrod in English is just like you're calling somebody
an idiot.
You're like a Nimrod, and so like he was just Nimrod, and like people, I felt so bad for the guy. I was like, oh my god, this is terrible. But then I thought, like, why would Israelis name their kid? Why do Israelis name their kid Nimrod? It's like Nimrod. It's like horrible.
So
it's like Hagar.
By the way, right. So there are criticisms. You know, the Rebbe actually stuck up for the Israelis that were naming their kids Nimrod, because the Rebbe was always like, everything that you see in the Torah is it is pure and holy, and even if the names were associated with some negativity or the negative behavior of some of the people, they are just waiting to be. Their holy essence is waiting to be revealed.
But you'll never see even Israelis name their daughter, Lil.
Right.
Like that, very rare.
I mean, I'm sure you'll hear people call it. So Lily is not a common name in Israel. That's good. Yeah.
You have Lichi, Lihi, which is
Lilliput. Yeah. Anyway, back to the point. So we have these 8 measures of holiness represented by 26. Again, 26 is the gematria of the tetragrammaton. Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. The essential formula of God. Okay, called the essential name of God, a name that is connected to God's transcendence. Okay, but also describing in a graphic way how he creates, how he begins the creation and ends it. Each letter represents a stage of that. Okay, the whole thing. It's a formula.
Yeah.
Okay, so we could say the primary name of God. That it's usually translated as Lord in English. Okay, but anyway, so 26 is a big number because 26 is synonymous. Whenever you see that number 26, that's synonymous with Yud Hey Vav Hey.
Yeah.
26 and Yud Hey Vav Hey are the same. Yep. Okay, you see the number 26, that's Yud Hey Vav Hey. You see Yud Hey Vav Hey, that's the number 26. Yeah. Now, so Yitzhak, whose name is gematria, its numerical value is 208, is 26 times 8. So he has 8 measures of this holy energy, each measure of holy energy represented by a separate Yud Hey Vav Hey, a separate tetragrammaton. Okay? Now, so he gave this to his sons. He gave 7 to Yaakov. Yaakov, his name, when you do the gematria of his name, is 7 times 26. Okay? And he gave one of them to Eisav. Okay? But Eisav, he is he's composed of not just that one name 26 that was given to him by his father, but he was composed of other stuff that surrounds and encapsulates that 26, and that represents the other numbers associated with his name. So you'd have to do the gematria of his name to see that. But we're not going to focus on that. The point is, Eisav had that 126, and that was the ultimate measure of holiness. It's one, but it's the ultimate. Yeah. Okay, and that was given to Eisav. Okay, so obviously it was a nuclear bomb of holy energy. Okay, that of course the other side, the Sitra Achra, could not be allowed to be unleashed on the world because then they'd be finished. So the Sitra Achra invested most of its forces into Eisav, into blocking that part of him. Yeah. That's why he was so troubled. That's why he was so relentlessly attacked by the forces of evil, never being left alone for an instant. It was they committed all of their resources to him.
You're talking about Trump.
Oh, really? Oh, you're picking up on that? That's good, Craig. That's good. Okay. Why do you think that the whole world, all this Sitra Achra scum, are fighting Trump so hard?
It's so crazy.
Okay. So and then, but getting back to something that Rabbi Kessin said, he goes, "There's a birur." So he would mention that Eisav comes in three modes, or in three pieces, aspects. We can say three aspects. You have the tov sheba Eisav, the good part of Eisav.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you could think about it, that's his head.
By the way, we're gonna have to get to the bottom of why the Sitra Achra scum are funded by well, he's Erev Rav, but
the Erev Rav are the agents of the Sitra Achra, just as much as Amalek are.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're talking about our buddy Soros.
They're the toughest clip-up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so a better question would be, why do we need an Erev Rav?
Yeah.
If we have a Amalek. And this is my thought about that. I'll just kind of I'll intro an idea, okay? But I don't want to get too into it because it's not fully formed in my own mind. Mm-hmm. So you have the serpent, right, or the possessed serpent.
Mm-hmm.
That is Amalek.
Yeah.
He instills doubt and confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But then there's that part of Chava, of Adam, right, which is somewhat receptive to it. What's more troubling? So the Erev Rav is that part of Chava, and which means Adam. That's one entity, by the way. Okay? That was receptive to the Amalek. You know how, like, if you look at, like, molecular biology, like, you have, like, molecules, or you have, like, hormones, or you have, like, cells that have, like, they have receptors sticking out of their cell membranes that receive stuff.
Yeah. Right?
There's, like, kind of like a lock and key. There was an Amalek-shaped hole, so, or some kind of space within the consciousness of Adam / Chava that was able to bond with that.
Yeah.
With the influence of the snake / Amalek, right?
Yeah.
So there's something going on there.
Yeah.
Okay? I put forth that that's going to be the most staggering of mysteries that will be unraveled.
Yeah.
But going back to the point, so we have Eisav, that Rabbi Kessin explains probably from his learnings, from primarily the Ramchal and many other sources that bring the tradition that Eisav it has three aspects to it. You have the good part of Eisav, which can be seen as his head, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have the bad the bad part of Eisav, which is split into two. Okay, which can be symbolized by his body. I don't know how that is divided up. Okay, so you have so the good part of Eisav is represented by the United States of America. It manifests as a good part of Eisav, because the good part of Eisav is actually. I apologize. Let me reel that back. You have Eisav as described in three different parts. You have the Eisav, the lover of pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then you have Eisav, the fraud. And then you have Eisav, the arrogant. Okay? These are the three aspects of Eisav. The part that's considered good is the lover of pleasure.
Interesting. Because
out of those three things, pleasure can be elevated. It's a klippa that can be elevated, that you can remove the sparks. There are sparks of holiness within love of pleasure. You can receive pleasure by serving God. You can take pleasure in serving God, or you can enjoy pleasure. You can enjoy pleasurable things in the context of serving God. There's a lot of ways. Okay, you could see pleasure as something that you have as part of your relationship with God, right? Like pleasing God, right, and God pleasing you. Like by enjoying something, let's say you bite into corn. Corn is good, yummy, right? Oh, God, this is great, fantastic. I'm enjoying this. God's like thumbs up. He's happy that you're happy. Yeah. I'm just kind of a silly example, but I think that that it's not that silly.
Yeah.
God created like good food, right, to be enjoyed. He wants that pleasure to be experienced. Yeah. But as long as it's understood that this is a mutual experience, like you got to remember, like God's like, oh, like when you come over, you ever go over somebody's house, and they're apparently a gourmand. Right?
A what?
They're a gourmand. A gourmet, right? A gourmand.
What the heck?
Some people pronounce.
Are you trying to like do the whole Target thing? Like when I shopped at Target today.
There are people who pronounce that word gourmand, a gourmand, but they say a gourmand.
Is that like when you go to Detroit, you say Detroit?
Perhaps. Okay. So. You go over somebody's house and they're really into cooking and they're really, you're going to love this, you're going to love that. They want you to try everything. Yeah. Right? A lot of times it's not great, so it's annoying. Sometimes the guy is actually a good cook. And I say guy because, as we know, as we've learned from Donnie Brasco, men are always the best chefs. Okay?
Speaking of which, this guy, Daniel or Mike Weinberg, he lives in Louisiana, I forgot what city. I'm not sure if New Orleans or maybe.
Either Baton Rouge or Metairie.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? He's a chef though. Jewish guy.
I don't know him.
He follows our stuff.
Cool, man.
Yeah, he follows our stuff. But he's a chef. He has like he has a thing called Midnight. I want to give him a plug actually. The guy, he has a thing called Midnight Soup.
Midnight what?
Midnight Soup. He makes like these dope soups that are like well, he doesn't make them at midnight, but it's like like people want to like order soup at like the middle of flipping night, and he'll have like a delivery service of soup.
So he's like the opposite of the soup Nazi.
Exactly. He's the tikkun of the soup Nazi. He's like, yes, soup for you. Yes, soup for you.
Ironically, the soup Nazi, the actor, Jewish guy.
I know. See, if they tried to make a character today called Soup Nazi, people will get up like, I'm telling you, man, like I was like walking in Jerusalem with this guy, American Jew, frum guy, and I said, I was talking about like, I have like real estate, I own real estate in America, and I was saying how like the management are Nazis, and this guy goes to me, we shouldn't like use that term. And I'm just like, seriously? Like seriously? It's like this, can you explain to me where does this policing of language come from? And I feel like it's kind of like even like the people who are, Bali Tshuva, they've taken the whole Chofetz Chaim, halachas of Lashon Hara to the extreme, or to like a stupid place that it's not even supposed to be taken to.
Do you know why the Sitra Achra adopted speech policing as of late? Because in previous generations,
there's nothing worse
about F you and this and that, and So why is it? Why has the Sitra Achra become a Victorian soccer mom?
Oh my God!
Right in its last manifestation, I'll tell you why. Remember, it always gets to the same formula. The Sitra Achra gets it first. Yeah. So the refinement of human character, right, which is a positive thing. Yeah. People should monitor what they say, and what they think, because they want to be refined for God. Yeah. That's the real reason, right? Because you want to speak the way God likes you to speak. Yeah. And okay, so that would be the real reason, right? But the Sitra Achra gets it first. primarily to make it to put a foul odor on it. You understand?
But why do Bali
Everything-
Tshuva remind me of leftists? Is my question. American Bali Tshuva are behaving like
No, because they
tightwad
come from it.
leftists.
Look. You know how you feel about American Bali Tshuva, right?
God.
Like, think about this. Like, these people come from California. Like,
Yeah.
even Rabbi Bax,
Yeah.
who was a Bali Tshuva
These
from
they're all
California,
former leftists.
still has he still has the little smidgen of the stink of California on him.
Yeah.
Even like, and I mean that in
It's
respect.
not just
I meant
California.
that in
It's like
slightly humorous way.
Chicago. It's like I don't know,
You understand?
Seattle.
So the reason I say that is because you remember we talked about like what is it like in Gan Eden
Yeah.
or Gehenna, right? Which is the same place, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's when you get somewhere where everybody is like cool and in shape and smells great,
Yeah.
right? But when you get there and they're like, they're looking at you like, dude, were you brushing your teeth with dog shit? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? Like,
Yeah.
were you like, how long did you sleep next to that dumpster for?
Yeah.
You know? So did you sleep in it or next to it? You know,
Yeah.
like people come to Gan Eden with some kind of something on them from the negative environment from which they came, and they didn't shake it off. They weren't able to wash it off or to scrape it off before they got there. So the pain of and people in Gan Eden wouldn't say mean stuff like that, but I'm just saying like I'm using hyperbole a little bit, okay? But the point is that's how a person who has some stains on his shirt or maybe doesn't smell that fresh,
Yeah.
okay? That's how they would feel about themselves, okay? Especially when they realize where they've come and what everybody else is like. So that wears off over time, like no smell.
Yeah.
Nobody comes to Gan Eden smelling so bad that the smell doesn't go away. Within it goes away. Everybody adjusts. Everybody becomes a member of Gan Eden. Within 11 months. I mean, that's pushing it. It doesn't have to be that long, but like definitely by 11 months.
Yeah.
And in the most extreme cases, like the worst of the worst, the dirtiest people,
Yeah.
people rolling around in pig pens,
Yeah.
right? It takes them 12 months. The point is, everybody goes through that period where, and then the embarrassment vanishes, and they are a very comfortable citizen of Gan Eden.
Yeah.
Okay, they fit in just perfectly. Same six pack, tasteful attire. I'm using metaphors here, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's kind of like that, like something about what you said. Like, why do I get that from Baal Tshuva? It's like, how come they have this attitude, this leftist attitude? Isn't that like the same idea, kind of? Right? Like they're coming to you from their nasty, like the nasty environment that they're from, obviously affected by it, right?
Yeah.
Not fully rid of it, of that mentality.
Yeah.
Anyway, so to answer the overall question, so the Sitra Achra gets it first, and what the Sitra Achra does is it takes something which is like the light, the Or Haganuz, the light, the hidden light, that the light of Mashiach, filters it through itself and creates a negative association with it to make it unattractive.
Yeah.
It takes something awesome and kind of tries to make it lame.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's like what we see now. It's like what we see now with just like movies. They're taking old, it's all these remakes. Apart from the fact that they have
wants to get their mitts on,
on the 80s.
Now they want to make they want to remake Lost Boy. What?
Apparently, no. It's like exactly. No, it's like they can't come up with anything new. On top of the fact that they can't come up with anything new, they have to take the old things and remake them and make them horrible.
Because the Sitra Achra doesn't have anything of its own. Yeah. It feeds off of what has more reality and existence to it. Do you understand? It borrows its existence from what that really
why
exists.
do you think that they because you could easily make the case that Hollywood was always whatever, had its agendas, But for some reason, they lost the ability to create new things. And even when they are creating new things, those things have like this stupid, they always have to have the woke message in it. They can never just create things that are just original and connected to the reality.
Creativity is connected to...
No, do you know what I'm saying? Like, connected to the reality that we live in, that like human beings can relate to. Like, we could relate to Back to the Future, even though we couldn't. Nobody had a DeLorean to go back in the past, but we could relate to the characters.
We can relate to the characters because the characters are organic, or they did a good job in portraying human type people.
Yeah, they don't portray human people anymore.
It was about the people.
They're portraying like demigods, either Marvel or even when they're portraying a person, these people are like freaking.
Ramis.
It's ridiculous.
Harold Ramis explained it. They asked him before he passed away.
Yeah.
They said, "What's going on with movies? Why it feels like something is missing?" And he kind of like looked, kind of very matter of fact.
Yeah.
Actually, he was trying to be nice, and he said, "Listen, movies used to be about people."
Yeah.
So regardless of what was going on in the background and the fun, the funny with the ghost and all this kind of cool effects and stuff like that, that was just the scene. That was just the setting for the people.
Dude, like today I was watching that scene with the Marshmallow Man, and then they have like Bill Murray, doing his little like side comment, funny, he's like, "Oh, this guy's a sailor. We just have to get him drunk and he'll be happy."
Exactly.
Like that kind of stuff.
That's the only reason for the Marshmallow Man is to get Bill Murray to say that. We all want to hear it. Okay? Last time Bill Murray was funny.
The focal point was not the Marshmallow Man. The focal point was their humanity of these guys dealing with, the other guy goes, Aykroyd, he's like, "Oh, so this is how we're going to die. By the childhood, hero character killing us."
Yeah.
Something like that. It's like an existential, the guy's having an existential discussion about how he's going to die.
Dude, the only reason for those demon dogs is to watch Rick Moranis run away in terror in the most hilarious possible way. And then watching Rick Moranis being possessed by one of those things in the most hilarious possible way.
Yeah, those things are all those ghosts are sidebars.
It's not about the ghosts. It's not about the money.
But today,
it's about Rick Moranis.
But today you watch and the ghosts are the freaking main thing, and the humans are like just sidebar. The humans are just whatever afterthoughts.
Yeah. It's like imagine giving Harold Ramis the Thor's hammer. It's a prop to see what comes out of these people.
Maybe that's why even Iron Man, even with all the Marvel shit, he's a human character. No, Robert Downey Jr. He plays like kind of a more or less a human guy, sort of.
Yeah.
He plays like an Elon Musk type, like you can kind of relate to him.
There's a couple of moments. I'll give them. There's a couple of moments, even in those movies, because in the end, I mean, the people who are playing in these movies, they're not. Of course, they're by no means Harold Ramis or Ernie Hudson or Rick Moranis or Dan Aykroyd or any of them, or Annie Potts or Brother Numsy.
Yeah.
From the Golden Child, or the guy, the guy, the redhead guy, the bureaucrat in that movie. Yeah. Okay. Of course they're not, but they still have something. They have some, except for Mark Ruffalo, has nothing. Yeah. That's not absolutely. He's nothing. But that guy, what's his name? The guy who played Thor. I forgot his name. Doesn't matter. You don't have to tell me.
Yeah.
He had a moment there. When he was all fat. Yeah. And he was playing video games, and he threatened to destroy that child.
That's why. What is it called? What the hell's his name? No, Deadpool Deadpool is so good because he's a human, even though he's like, you can't kill the guy. So that's that aspect, but at least
nobody cares about that part. Yeah, it's annoying.
The character is human. He's having human emotions. Human, he's going through stuff. He has like sarcasm, whatever it is. He's whatever. He had a girlfriend. He had like he lost his wife, his girlfriend. He had a whole tragedy. all this kind of thing.
Yeah. So the more human the people were, and the more personality that they had, that's what we're paying to see. We're paying to see these hilarious guys that could keep you rolling on the floor for hours and hours and hours by a certain look. They have a spirit. Yeah. There's a human spirit there, and that spirit is encumbered in these generations. And the movies are a reflection of what happened to the people. Yeah. You're not allowed to be that human anymore. Yeah. Right? According to these people. But let's reel it back. We're talking about Eisav. Yeah. Okay? We're talking about the three different parts of Eisav. Mm-hmm. And it's connected to what we're talking about. But so just, okay, before we get back to the three different parts of Eisav, the Shekhinah is getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, right? It's like it's gonna be like almost not present whatsoever until like the very last moment when there's like a huge explosion of light. Yeah. Okay, where the Shekhinah will be like fully revealed, and then all beauty and creativity will return to the world. Okay, so there was just more Shekhinah when Ghostbusters came out than when, whatever this is, the Marvel crap. Yeah. Okay? A lot more. Mm-hmm. Okay. And because the Shekhinah is expressed through people, it shines forth through people. That's how its presence is in the world. Remember that, when you put on talit, right? So what is that? We're mimicking God. God wraps himself in the Shekhinah. That's his talit. And the Shekhinah is a collection, it's the collective souls of Israel. Yeah. So you could think of each thread that makes up your talit as a soul. And they're all threaded together, and God wraps himself in it. Yeah. Okay, so the Shekhinah equals everybody's consciousness and soul, and the beauty that radiates from that. Okay. So basically, now just taking it back to Eisav, because that's where we kind of got sidelined. Mm-hmm. Although I think we said some interesting stuff. Yeah. But so I think the primary tangent that we went on was the Sitra Achra gets it first. Yeah. And makes it lame. Yeah. Okay. Now, so you have Eisav in three aspects: Eisav, the one who loves pleasure, and Eisav, the fraud, and Eisav, the arrogant. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the way it splits up is like this. The way it manifests in physical reality is Eisav, the lover of pleasure, is the United States of America. And it's hard to argue that. Yeah. Okay? We love enjoyable things. We love to go to amusement parks. We love entertainment. We love, more so than everybody else. We really, have mastered the art of entertainment and of pastimes. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. Okay? The American pastime. Nobody ever heard of the Italian pastime or, or the French. No, that word isn't even used in context. There are countries where people like stuff. Okay, fine. They're into stuff, but it's not a pastime. Okay? We have so many pastimes here that it's current time. All the pastimes are like happening now. Okay? Mm-hmm. So America is a lover of pleasure, but also that is the one part of Eisav that can be used for the good, because you can make God happy. I now remember where we left off. Okay? Remember I was telling you how you have these people who you come over and they want to feed you stuff because they think that their food they're cooking is so awesome, and they think you've never tasted. Like, oh, you've never had this fruit, or here, try this pickle. You never had that, or they want to show you. They want you to experience their wonder, right? Mm-hmm. Most of the time it's lame. Sometimes it's like, whoa, really? Actually, that is pretty good. I've never. Thank you for showing me that, right? Yeah. Now God, like, he's like that guy, but he shows you, like, he actually surprises you with wonders every time. Yeah. right? He's like, I bet you never tried a pomegranate. I bet you never tried a kiwi. Well, here's this thing. Here's that thing. You know, he can keep wowing you with these things, and it brings him pleasure to show this to you and for you to experience it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the part. The pleasure can be elevated to serve God. Yeah. So that's the good part of Eisav.
Yeah.
Also, you know, and that's related to the pleasure of pleasing his father.
Mm-hmm.
He received great pleasure from pleasing Yitzhak, legitimately. That wasn't like, he wasn't a fraud in that respect. Actually, Eisav was one of the reasons, you know, people say, you know, oh, Yaakov was scared of Eisav. You know why he was scared? Why do you think he was scared?
Yaakov
What's the standard thing? What's the standard thought?
I mean, the standard thought it was just, the physicality, and that, you know, he's coming with the armies, and that he's...
yeah, no, absolutely not. Jacob was not scared of Eisav physically whatsoever. And he could have come with a trillion men, and that wouldn't have bothered Yaakov at all.
So then he was scared of, the spiritual power.
He was scared of Esav's hus, his hut.
Even though that he sold it?
No, that's his birthright.
Yeah.
Eisav had a zchut of, because there was a mitzvah in which he kept so well that no one ever came near it.
And you see that with Trump himself, with his dad.
Yeah.
You see that
America has Father's Day.
Yeah.
And Mother's Day.
Also, by the way, I think it was Rabbi Kessin or somebody said, the embodiment of Eisav is, the nation of Germany. And Germany, how do they call Germany? They call it fatherland. Like Russians call Russia motherland, but Germans call Germany fatherland.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So Eisav respected Yitzhak. I don't know what the nature of Esav's relationship was with Rivka, but it was definitely one of the utmost respect, because even if it was only for Yitzhak's sake, even though I'm sure it wasn't, because that's his mom, but still, he would have been exemplary.
Yeah.
He would prepare meals. He would go hunting, and he was so accurate that he shechted in a kosher way the animals with his arrow heads.
Yeah.
Understand?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was no officially established, a halaf that needed to be used.
Yeah.
It wasn't like cemented in halacha, but the actual type of cut, right? The windpipe and the sensory nerve, right? It was cut exactly each and every time. That's how he was. Eisav was a master warrior, a master archer, a master everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And he would never give his father unkosher food.
By the way, can I just quickly, speaking of Trump, I want to quickly mention that this came across my feed on Telegram. Your brother is going to be in a conference in Dallas called Reawaken America with Eric Trump. This is two names I don't know. Lance Wallnau, I don't know who that is. Dr. David Martin. And Jim Brewer, comedian Jim Brewer, who we've been watching his clip. Yeah, so
full circle.
So your brother, that's funny, right? Wait, so maybe is there any way that you can go, or we can go? I'd love to meet Jim and your brother.
You know what
obviously.
I do all day?
What do you do? You field calls.
People call me absolutely hysterical. Panicking from fear of death.
Gosh.
So I have to send them in the right direction and explain to them what they need to do. That's what I do all day. I can't.
It's crazy.
I don't go anywhere.
It's crazy, man.
Anyway.
I hope you have your Yosef moment where you are released from this prison and become known to the world.
I don't want to become known to the world.
Well,
I got my brother for that. It's close enough.
Yo, your brother made a gangster move on camera today or yesterday, whenever it was.
Блядь, знаешь, что мне плохо становится, когда он это делает. Like, you know, like, oh, like, come on, man. Like, I get it. And by the way, I'm
but he's in
wrong.
Florida, so what's the big deal?
No, he's right. But I was like, come on, dude.
It's
but
like
you know
it's
what?
just like the media, not a good look for the PR.
every time I think,
oh God,
you know, logically so, that he's going, you know, he's doing, it's too crazy, right? I'm always proven wrong. God just blesses him with success.
Yeah.
Specifically with those things.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm like Eddie Murphy in The Golden Child.
Yeah.
He's like, you are the chosen one. He's like, why I gotta be chosen to go to Tibet? Why can't we chosen to go to Bahamas? You know?
So the question if you're Eddie Murphy, so who is that old Asian man who keeps disappearing and turns into a bird?
Oh man, that would be I don't know. It's
those movies, dude. Like you think about that movie, right? That movie had some sinister stuff. It had like stuff about, you know, the stuff that Bart Sadak talks about, but at the same time, it had such warm, heartfelt, you know, characters. Like even Eddie Murphy, who was like plays this like comedian from the street or like funny guy from the streets or whatever. He's a cop, I guess, or PI, private investigator. He's like the guy with like a heart of gold, you know, and he I don't know, it's just like the whole, there's no more of that feel good like just warmth in these movies. There's no more warmth. Everything is cynical.
Dude, do you know why? Because you have to have a person who is not just funny, but funny in the face of like what most people aren't funny in the face of.
Like darkness, yeah, like that guy.
Yeah. Like Brother Numzi.
Yeah.
Brother Numzi is, first of all, on his own right, is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay? But Eddie Murphy turning that demon into Brother Numzi and kissing him on the face.
Yeah.
Remember that scene?
Yeah,
like, oh, my brother Numzi,
Yeah.
I've wronged him. And then at the end, he kisses him on the cheek, and you see his eyes open up like that, right? It's just, man. It's just you're not gonna repeat that, man. Eddie Murphy's.
Even the recent, you know, that stupid sequel to Coming to America 2. Dear Lord, like why would he even participate in something like that?
They forced him.
Why? What? Blackmail?
He's been staying away. This is my theory. He's been staying away from all the crap that's been going on.
Yeah, he's not on Twitter. He's not on social media. He's not on any of this crap.
Right. And they said, "You think you're going to escape this? You think that we're going to leave you alone?
Yeah.
And leave your body of work unharmed and untouched? No, you're coming back.
Yeah.
You're going to ruin Coming to America, and then you're going to ruin The Golden Child next." Something like that. I hope Mashiach comes so that nobody doesn't have a chance to ruin any more of anything. Okay? Another reason for Mashiach to come. As if there weren't enough.
It's just. I have no words, and I was so looking forward to that. You know, now they're making triplets. What is it? Schwarzenegger, DeVito, and Eddie Murphy.
Oh my God!
It's gonna be obliterated. They're gonna have this stupid woke crap. They're gonna have something. It's gonna be awful. It's gonna be like, you know, Arnold has kids, and whatever, and he's gonna be like this. You know, I'm telling you, they're just gonna. It's just gonna be. Oh God.
Okay,
whatever.
You know what that is? That's Eisav the fraud.
Yeah.
Okay, so it really is Eisav the fraud, because, you know, we talked about Eisav the pleasure seeker, which is the good part of Eisav, represented by America. So who is Eisav the fraud? Western Europe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also
which
certain parts of
of. What is that?
No, I was just gonna say also certain entities in America itself that want to be like Europe, I guess, or want to.
Yeah. You know, like Obama, he was the more European type of president.
Or
right?
he had a book called The Post-American Century or something like that.
Yeah.
Fareed Zakaria, whatever.
Yeah, you know, where Europe is seen as sophisticated. It's more sophisticated.
Yeah.
Okay? All this woke crap, that's the origin of it. Mostly Western Europe.
Yeah.
Okay? And they're frauds. You know, Western Europe, with all of their highfalutin, right, stuff, right? All their concepts, their principles, all their virtue signaling, as they say.
By the way,
right?
you know that Poland, there's a whole brouhaha stink with Poland now, because Poland, you saw, they basically would not let those Kurdish whatever guys in from Belarus.
Oh, they didn't want to
they pushed them back, and now now there's a whole thing with the EU. The EU is trying to pull funding or something like that, or there's a whole stink right now with Poland. And the crazy part is that Poland is having, you probably know about this guy. He's a German lawyer, Rainer Fulmick.
Yeah, sure. He sued my brother a bunch of times.
Yeah, so what is he? He's known for, like, he's sued like all these car companies and all. In the past, he sued big corporations. So now this guy is obviously going against this whole vaccine mandate and Pfizer themselves. So now they're holding a Nuremberg 2.0 thing with Polish parliament members, certain ones, not the whole parliament, but certain Polish legislators. So the EU is just not happy with Poland, because Poland is not, obviously they're leading the way in like not letting their country getting engulfed by what is it called? Not a simulation. What's the other? Basically, outsiders. And and they're fighting this whole Pfizer thing, vaccine thing. So the EU is not their friend.
The EU is not their friend. The EU is nobody's friend. The EU is not the friend of even the people who live in the EU.
I know. Okay? No, the EU is part of this whole,
Okay, so whatever. That is the fraud. Western Europe is the fraud. It's always been the fraud.
Yeah.
Because they feign sophistication and morals, right?
Yeah.
And but in reality, they are greedy murderers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they're disgusting. And they have all the disgusting habits that fakers try to hide, okay? And that's, well, for instance, probably the flagship of Western Europe, of the fraud, the Germans, the Nazis, right? The classic example given is in the concentration camps, right? You'd have human misery beyond imagination, and then they'd have these little, like, havens, these little ballrooms. These entertainment structures where people would have bowls. They would come dressed up in tuxes. They'd have a full band playing. You know, it'd be like a little slice of home, Berlin, right? Sophistication, right? So they put on their tux, right? And they they slick their hair back with with Dapper Dan, right? And they're wearing their they're. I'm trying to create like a picture, like putting on the Ritz, like that one. Like they're all of a sudden they're Cole Porter, right?
Yeah,
oozing sophistication, right?
Yeah.
When outside, they're starving people to death and torturing them. Okay, so this is used as the metaphor is of the pig. So the pig itself, its body is rolling around in filth, but as it's rolling around on its back, its hooves are in the air, and the hooves are split. That's a kosher sign, right? Yeah. So as it's rolling around in the dirt and the crap, it's saying, "Look, I'm kosher. Look at my hooves."
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Squeaky. My cat.
Oh. By the way, these conferences, I just want to quickly mention this Reawaken America thing. There was one, they had them in April. It's basically like, it's crazy. They have like General Flynn, Alex Jones, different people at different ones here, but they're having, the Dallas one is
General Flynn is going to be in that.
So the Dallas one is happening today, tomorrow, and it's basically like this weekend. Basically sold out. The next one, they're having a how to successfully homeschool conference. That's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. 16th and 17th. Then they're having, dude, if you want, we could try to go to this. The Reawaken one in Phoenix in January 14th, Arizona.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying.
I'd love to go to that. I might go to that.
You should.
I just want to go to Phoenix. Phoenix is dope. I like Phoenix. I've been to Phoenix before. Let's see. Tickets.
So, okay.
Anyway, sorry.
So that's Eisav the fraud. So when was Eisav a fraud? Like, like in the story of Eisav himself, right? Like he would, he wasn't a fraud when he was trying to serve his father delicious delicacies, right? And he brought it to his father with great joy, right? And every time he would bring him this specially prepared meal, which he was happy to bring, he would dress up in clothing, in fancy clothing, because he would never show up around his father looking, to him going to see his father was like a holiday. So he would dress up in his holiday clothing. And that was legitimate. He wasn't being a fraud there. That was part of Eisav, the lover of pleasure. He was pleased. Part of the pleasure that he looked for was to please his father. Okay?
Yeah.
He had negative pleasures too, but that's a side point. Okay. So, but when was he a fraud? So there are these situations where Chazal say that Eisav would go up to his father and say, "Do I have to bring a tithe on salt?" You ever heard this before? He would try to pretend. Eisav was trying to pretend to be religious. Like he was trying to pretend. He's so frum, right? That he's even concerned about bringing a tithe on salt when everybody knows so well. Yeah, a tithe.
Yeah.
Okay, which is like he's like trying to be he's pretending to be more religious than God. So that's the fraud part. Okay, so that's one of the ways in which it was expressed in the original Eisav. Okay, so Eisav the arrogant. What's that? So it manifests in the physical world as Russia. Okay,
interesting.
But really, as Russia as its communist.
Yeah.
And by extension, the communist republics, which by this time already includes China.
Yeah.
Okay.
Former Soviet.
Yeah. So what is this arrogance? Right? Man over God. Okay. Man, we could you could elevate man. We don't need God.
Yeah.
Understand? Man can persevere. They can figure it out. We can establish it. We can do it on our own. We don't. Of course, he can't. Right? And think about any communist that you've ever spoken to. Like, I mean, obviously, for us, it's going to be Russians, right?
Yeah.
A Russian thinks that they invented everything. Everything that's good in the world was invented by a Russian, right? Like, the just name any piece of engineering or technology, right?
We invented the piano key necktie. What did you do, Derek?
Right. We
Nothing.
Invented sarcophagus for Pharaoh. What did you do? we invented...
In Soviet Russia, invention makes you. It's like invention patent in Soviet Russia. Invention patents you.
Right. Okay. So everything was everything. The internet. The Russians created the internet. Everything. Okay. So the phone, the automobile, everything. Even they couldn't get their own production right. They couldn't produce anything of value for the world, right? But they invented everything. Okay.
Yeah.
China does the same thing, by the way. They steal every invention and then pretend like it's theirs.
Yeah.
Giving no credit to where they took it from.
Intellectual property is that's their theft is their forte. I gotta say.
China feels that its arrogance is in its ancient wise culture, and also its superiority, in terms of like how many people know how to do math.
Yeah.
Russia was
Dude, can I tell you something? The fact that America started with this whole Common Core thing, I mean, like, China was sitting there like, what are these idiots doing?
What do you mean China was sitting there? China is behind it.
No, they're behind it, but it's like, I don't know. it's just, oh my God. Dude, I just remember I was in math class in school, and this is before Common Core, and like the teachers wanted us to do, show the work. And the thing is, I used to bring math homework back home, and my parent, I'm talking about like my parents, so these are like applied math people, my parents. And I'm showing them, they're like, okay, show me. My mother was like, I don't understand why you're having a problem with this. I'm like, well, they want me to do it this way. She's just like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. She's like, why are they having you do it this way? I'm like, I don't know. They want me to show the work. She's like, but this is a waste of time. This is a waste of time. This is taking up too much time. And she used to go to war with my math teachers. I'm talking about starting from, I guess, junior high school or even elementary school until 12th grade when I was in calculus, advanced calculus. It was just like a war every year. And my mother used to come in. She's like, she told the teachers, like, I'm an applied math person. You're going to tell me how to teach math to my son. And they're like, we're the teachers, da. And my mother was just like, I don't understand. I could show him how to get the...
Your mom's like Rodney Dangerfield in Back to School.
Yeah.
Remember that scene where he goes to the business class?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, yeah.
It's like that.
What about the union?
What about you got to grease? You got to grease the, and then there's the mafia guy, and then I don't think I have to tell you what he's up to.
Right.
He's like, Mr. Mellon.
Over here?
He's like,
I don't know widgets. He goes, what are you, crazy? The guys will kill us on that.
And he's like, Mr. Mellon, maybe bribery and fraud are in your
mafia kickbacks.
Yeah, he's like a part of your, but they're not part of the legitimate business world, Mr. Mellon. It's like, and then he's like, okay, now we'll get back to the business. He's like, where? In Fantasyland?
Yeah, right.
It's like
because if you want the trash taken out, I don't want to tell you who runs that.
I don't know. Business. I can assure you, it's not.
We're not doing a good Dangerfield.
I know. I just like the part where he's with Kinnison.
It's starting to sound like Seinfeld.
I like his part with Kinnison. He's like, I like this teacher. He really seems to care about what I have no idea.
That's Sam Kinison. That's like, say it.
He's like,
I love it.
He's like, oh, thank you, Mr. Helper.
Right. He's like, oh.
What the hell?
Anyway, so back to Eisav the Arrogant.
Yeah.
So Russia, specifically as it manifested through Russian communism, right? Mm-hmm. There's a reason why did it manifest there on such a scale, right? Because there's a potential for it. There was that element. It was already there. And you know what the real arrogance is of Russia through communism? Mm-hmm. It's the type of arrogance that we're seeing now, where you're having these millennial woke people, right? These woke people, they're a cult, right?
No, they're crazy.
They're automatically like they are looking at everybody in a condescending way, like they're judging everybody based on the principles that they were taught, right? And when they talking to somebody, to an older person, they're speaking to them as if the older person never had a thought in their life about any of the issues that the young person is concerned about.
Yeah.
You understand? You speak it to an old person, like you've never cared about women or women's rights ever in your life.
It's like MF, or you're talking to what's her name, that woman who Camille Paglia. She's like, excuse me. The woman who basically founded modern day feminism.
Right.
And she's saying that this is stupid. In reality,
you're just a stupid kid.
Yeah.
And you're making a fool out of yourself.
Yeah.
You're so stupid. You're so primitive.
Yeah.
And their attitude is like, I am so evolved, and I'm the future, and you guys, you're in the past. You're cavemen. When it's true, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
That's arrogance.
Yeah. That's
Eisav's arrogance. Okay, he had that issue as well. Okay, so this is so now the question: how do we get into this? The question is, well, what was going on with Trump?
Yeah.
Right. What are we seeing now?
Yeah.
What is the tikkun of Trump? What is the tikkun of Eisav? And why is Trump the tikkun of Eisav?
Yeah.
So what we're seeing is that Yitzhak wants Eisav to come back.
Yeah.
Just the good part. Just that one part that represents that 26, that Yud Hey Vav Hey. But without all the crap that was attached to him back the first time he showed up.
Yeah.
Okay? Mm-hmm. So that's the other two parts. That's Eisav the fraud. He needs to be cut away. Yeah. Eisav the arrogant needs to be cut away.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Western Europe in its entirety needs to be cut away.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Russia needs to be cut away.
Yeah.
Because even within those places, you have all three. You know, it's very fractal. Everything is fractal.
Yeah.
Okay? Within America, you have... America is not all the good of Eisav. Obviously, we also have some of the fraud and some of the arrogance.
For sure.
Too, right?
Yeah.
So everybody has to do that birur.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so that's what's happening. And the birur is occurring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So the Trumps, right?
Yeah.
Was the best part of that whole establishment.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that's why it was attacking him so hard. Okay?
Yeah.
Because there was a separation that was occurring.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's so
Oh, meaning like they wouldn't let him do tshuva. They were like, "Oh, you see Trump did this in his past and did that in his past and look how he was and look how he this." And he's just like, "Well,
no, he was like, the more stuff that they tried to do, the more idiotic and transparent it seemed that they were.
Yeah.
Like the more, do you understand? Like the uglier they got, like the ugly part of Eisav, which is like the whole establishment and all that kind of stuff.
For sure.
The more it tried to attack the good part, the uglier it looked. Like it became more and more and more apparent.
Yeah.
The more they tried to attack the good part, the uglier they looked by contrast.
Yeah.
So the birur was even clearer and clearer and clearer. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now we see it's completely separated. And there's nothing but ugly Eisav. And it's going crazy.
Yeah.
It's running rampant, right?
Yeah.
But remember, we said that Eisav, the good part of Eisav was the head of Eisav.
Yeah.
So what we're watching is a body running around crazy, a headless body.
Yeah.
Okay? That we're just waiting for it to die, basically, and it won't die fast enough.
It's like in Gladiator where he goes, "You just won't die." Do you remember that part? Commodus?
I remember.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hate that guy.
Yep. But he played a great Commodus. What's his name? Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, man. Yep. By the way, interesting that you brought that up because Marcus Aurelius, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's Antoninus.
Yeah, that's and then Robert Kessin said that's Trump is the Gilgal of.
Yeah, that was the first, I think, the first major tikkun effort of Eisav when Antoninus, meaning Marcus Aurelius, was best friends with Rabbi Yehuda the Prince.
Yeah.
Who compiled the Mishnah
with Rabbi.
So it's that movie is, sometimes we forget the proximity of that story to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Anyway, so
that's another thing that speaks to what I spoke about the other day about removing history. They're never going to show Jews in Gladiator. That there were Jewish gladiators, or that this Marcus Aurelius in the movie, that there was like a Jewish guy.
Spartacus was a Jewish gladiator.
Yeah.
I mean, in the movie.
Yeah, the guy.
Kirk Douglas playing Spartacus.
Yeah, playing. That's as close as you're gonna get.
They're not gonna show Reish Lakish in his gladiatorial days.
Dude, I'm telling you, when I became Bal Tshuva and I started reading these Gemara, stories, all I had immediately, or not just Gemara, even just Chumash, Gemara, especially the Gemara stuff, I have movie reels in my head of like Hollywood movies of the Gemara, the scenes in the Gemara. I have them like on loop in my head. Some of the most amazing movies are in my head that are set in the rabbis in the Gemara.
We won't even need movies in the future.
It's insane, dude.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's like a part of history that's just completely black hole.
Yeah.
So it would never happen. Only known to a bunch of guys in a base midrash.
A bunch of guys in a base midrash.
Yeah, whatever, There's a bunch of dudes. So we're the dudes in basement Batei Midrashim around the world, sitting and talking about these monumental moments in world history that maybe if you take a course in university, some Judaic studies non-Jewish professor will teach you.
Yeah.
Maybe.
A sterilized non-human,
No Hazal, no Hazal aspect. Just completely, just like.
You say like the bunch of guys sitting around a base medrash, right? So for thousands of years, there's always been a few guys sitting around a base medrash, and it was always to carry it on to the next generation, until it gets to us.
Yeah.
And then we are supposed to do exactly what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And giving it to the world.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I might be, exaggerating a little bit, because maybe, listen, what if Alex and Denise become the prime influencers on Earth? The fact that they're listening to us, that is bringing Torah to the world, isn't it?
No, it's true. It's true.
Okay.
It's not just It's not just them, but yeah.
Dude, you're ruining. I'm trying to create a running gag, and you keep screwing it up. How's that out? Do you?
You can create all the running gag you want, but then after you said that, a bunch of people on the the last video chimed in. Hey, I'm here. I'm here.
Detection. All those people need stick detection software.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to develop it.
I know.
Right. All the whole left. Not the ones running, not the cabal, but the people who are attracted to what the cabal say.
Yeah.
They don't know shtick. That's the problem. Imagine if everybody knew how to interpret, how to recognize shtick.
Yeah.
The cabal wouldn't have any sway over anybody.
Yeah. My mother sometimes will. She says it in Russian. She's like, "И ты знаешь, Гриша, они не имеют чувства юмора. Я не люблю женщин, которые не имеют чувства юмора. И это все левые." She's basically saying like all the lefties don't have a sense of humor. But I feel like they have their own brand of humor that they think is funny. And it's not.
It's lame, man.
It's really bad. You know how I know? Because I was
lame.
Somebody posted a video of Jim Brewer talking about all this stupidity with Shmovid. And it was a leftist blogger posted a video of Jim Brewer's stand-up. And then I went on the comments section. And then they're like, oh, so this must have been like for comedy when comedy was bad or something. Or something like all these comments. And I'm just like, I wanted to respond, but I'm just like, there's not going to be a point for me to respond because like these people are like not even going to understand what I'm saying.
Meta, right? That's the leftist contribution to apparently. To humor.
Yeah.
Right? And then in the words of Norm Macdonald, he goes, meta, huh? I hate meta.
Wait, what do you mean like contribution to humor? I don't understand.
You know what the meta humor, right? There's that meta genre of humor.
Okay.
Where it's sort of like I can't recall any of the jokes, but they're all kind of like they're not what you would expect. Like the punchline would be something like very mundane. Like you'd expect to punch. For instance, like classic joke. Like I'm on a seafood diet.
Yeah.
Whenever I see food, I eat it. Like that's the standard joke.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's good. Yeah. Right. But a meta would be like I'm on a seafood diet. I enjoy eating fish. Like that kind of thing.
They're trying to be like super super ironic and super absurdist.
Yeah. Okay. So it was funny for like the first meta joke may have been funny for us for an instant because it's slightly different and
but then they're just now they're just pushing it like a dead horse.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, like we get it. Okay, you don't want the standard. You know, the punchline is not good enough for you. You're just gonna say like matter of fact. Okay, everything's matter of fact.
Yeah, everything's ironic for the sake of being ironic, including this T-shirt.
Yeah.
God, where does that come from? That's also part of like some sort of Sitra Achra thing. It's like a too cool for school thing. Is that what it is?
It's not even, man. It's like it's just about just ruining everything enjoyable.
Yeah.
Okay? It's about destroying whatever whatever contributes to positivity.
Yeah.
To freedom of thought, like creative thought. What kind of environment do we need to facilitate a free-flowing mind, a creative thought, right? That needs to be stopped, right? Comedy was like that, right? So we have to shut that down, right?
Yeah.
And of course, since most of the comics are men, and that even the funny women are really just doing male personas.
Yeah.
They know how to do it.
Yeah.
Right? They're speaking with a male voice.
Yeah, there's no feminine, funny female comedians.
Correct. That would be correct.
No, really.
Okay. Except there is two ladies that
there's like Natasha Leggero. You know this chick?
No.
No good?
I don't know her. So I can't say no, but that's not what I'm talking about. I have two women in my mind that can fall into the feminine, funny ladies.
Okay.
But they're not comedians. They're just funny actresses. But they're hilarious.
Who is it?
Number one, Eileen Brennan. Okay?
Eileen Brennan?
She was Mrs. White. Not Mrs. White. She was... You ever see Clue? The movie Clue?
Yes. Oh, this chick. Okay.
Eileen Brennan.
Yeah.
Chick. She was already,
she passed away. 2013.
She passed away. One of the funniest people ever. Not a comedian, not a stand-up.
Yeah.
Okay? But just pure comedy.
And who else?
Genius. Love her. And Madeline Kahn. A feminine comic icon. A real...
Oh, this chick, yeah. Taya. Dude, she passed away in 99? Seriously?
She died of the Yonamachta.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Okay. So those are two truly, there's nothing like them. And even Goldie Hawn in her time, was funny. She has a funny bone. Okay. So that exists, but stand-ups, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Women in stand-up, they speak with a male voice. Okay. So, Sarah Silverman, when she was funny, she's woke now, so she's not funny anymore.
Even though recently she made a comment actually that surprised me. Sarah Silverman. I'll tell you what she said recently. Come on.
I never really even liked Sarah Silverman's comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, she was just all about being as outrageous and dirty as possible.
She recently said something that actually, I think it was about, Sarah Silverman slams Joy Reid. Joy Reid is that idiot on MSNBC. She said, as media panics about DeSantis' proposed civilian military force. So she says, Silverman took aim at MSNBC host Joy Reid for sounding the alarm on Republican Governor DeSantis for proposed civilian military force in his state.
When did he propose that? I missed that.
This is a couple days ago. Yeah, he wants to make like a civilian military force, which people made fun of as like Gomer Pyle or whatever. So he's like, we want to make sure that we have the flexibility and ability need to respond. No, whatever. This him. Da da da. He says. So basically, I want to get into the Sarah. Where's that didn't stop CNN's story from going viral, and was shared by several liberal media personalities, including the Readout. So y'all know this is fascisty bananas, right? Reed tweeted. Silverman, an outspoken liberal, pushed back at the MSNBC star's hyperbolic remark. Please read the article before you post the stuff. You're a news outlet. The truth has to matter. See, this is what I'm saying. Like Silverman, Tapper, it's like too little, too late.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Interesting. It's interesting. You know that Silverman's sister is a Reform rabbi in Jerusalem. She lives in Jerusalem. That's a whole other thing.
I'd rather talk about Trudeau than Reform rabbi.
Here. That wannabe totalitarian, fascist, authoritarian dictators do. MSNBC analyst Ferd. It's astounding how they have total self-awareness.
Yeah.
They're calling other people to tell. Like, it's just, my God. At least, Silverman has some sort of seichel. Maybe, possibly.
I don't know.
Who the hell knows? Huh. Anyway, so Rabbi Kessin.
I think that Sarah Silverman, and I was critical of her, but I feel bad. I think that she was a highly traumatized person, like in growing up.
Yeah,
like
I think so.
The type of things that she encountered, just certain like difficult things about like just life as an organic being, like a physical organic being, right?
Yeah.
Like the nasty stuff about being human was so disturbing to her that this is my theory, that the only way that she could kind of handle it or get through it was to kind of conquer it by
laughing,
not making fun of it, but kind of like framing it in this kind of like in this way, you know what I mean? Like all this sexual stuff, all this dirty crap. It's like, I think ultimately, people think, oh, it's because she's comfortable with it. No, I think it's the opposite.
No, she's dealing with it. She's trying to figure out what the hell, Yeah. By the way, speaking of framing,
she was talking about this. I don't remember where this is from, but she was like, when I was like a little, like, I was in the shower with my mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? They were showering or whatever. She was like a little kid. Yeah. And she was describing how the water cascaded from her. It's really, she was obviously messed up by it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So, anyway.
Speaking of, what's it called? Guess who is going to be on the Joe Rogan podcast today?
The Joe Rogan podcast.
It's a doctor, but it's not your brother.
Yeah, I know.
I wish it was, but it's a doctor, but it's not your brother.
Joe Rogan is not going to have my brother on.
You don't think so? He had this If he has this doctor, he may eventually have your brother on.
I don't think so. I think that Joe Rogan wants to be known as Joe, the one who brought ivermectin, my brother's protocol to the world. So it's going to be the Rogan protocol.
But guess who he had on his show today? And it's either going to be today or tomorrow, the premiere of it.
It's either McCullough or Reach, right?
McCullough. Yeah.
McCullough, right?
3-hour program with McCullough. Amazing.
Yeah. If it's McCullough is likely to mention my brother at least.
Yeah, for sure.
The reason why that's important to me is because it's the same idea that we talked about early on when we started these conversations.
Yeah.
We talked about Rabbi, even Rabbi Katzin, who was in agreement that that it's important that God sent this information to a bearded religious Jewish man.
Yeah.
To bring to the world.
Yeah.
That's not an accident. And there are forces that are trying to cover that up.
That's crazy.
Okay. You see it happening. It's subtle, It's like, it's kind of. So of course, the fact that it's my brother, and I want him to have his recognition, obviously. I think I could probably, and so could he could probably let that go. You know, as long as like, you know, obviously it's like, you know, hey, what the F, but eventually it's like, all right, at least people, you know, got it.
Yeah.
You know, the important thing is that people got it, but no, the fact that he is who he is and he looks like what he looks like is very, very important for the world.
Of course.
Jewish people.
It's ultimately going to be a, you know, once if you look at him as like a Yosef figure, once Yosef is going to be let out of prison, and once
you know, people are telling me,
when
I've heard people say, "Oh, isn't your brother could be Mashiach ben Yosef?"
No, he's not Mashiach ben Yosef. He's just a Yosef figure, I think, in this respect.
So I think. Okay, so here's why I don't want him to be Mashiach ben Yosef. I think it's obvious.
Okay.
even though the Vilna Gaon said that decree was annulled. Okay. I don't want to. I don't even want to say anymore.
You don't want to. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. I get it.
So you know, I'd gladly him not be Mashiach ben Yosef just so that you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure.
So
understandable.
Yeah.
Totally understandable.
So basically, yeah. So let's reel this all the way back. Let's connect it. Let's look it back.
With regard to this whole thing about Trump, I mean, like Rabbi Kessin mentioned that he had to, you know, just like it's like a Moshe Rabbeinu thing, he had to temporarily go away, and then you have, you know, if we're saying that he's a messianic figure for Eisav and is doing a tikkun or whatever it is, there's going to be a return.
There already is a return.
Okay.
For Eisav. Look, Trump supporters, right? Forget about just Trump, but what about Trump supporters, the people who kind of are connected to the truth, who had an instinct about what was really going on, who saw through the crap of the media. That's I would say the majority of Americans, right? The people who voted for him, the by far the hugest landslide in political history on earth. He won the election like no one ever won the election. Yeah. Those votes are that's the Tov Sheba Eisav.
Yeah.
Making themselves counted.
Yeah.
Okay. So the bearer is done.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's clear. It's clear. People can recognize each other now. People could see
for sure.
quickly.
For sure.
It doesn't matter what color they are. You could be black. You could be. Dude, do you know how fast? You know when that whole thing was going on about the recount and the all the bullshit.
Yeah.
I was picking up my new lease. I'm leasing a RAV4. And I had to give in my old one, which I didn't want to, but because the lease was up anyway. So I was at the dealership, and the guy who was helping me out with that was he was a Latino dude, right? And young guy, you know what I mean? Like, and I looked at him and I knew who this guy was. I knew he was a Trump supporter. I knew it. Yeah. I don't know how I knew it, but I knew it.
Yeah.
Okay? I know in 2 seconds when I'm talking to a Trump supporter, if it's a black Trump supporter, a Latino, a Chinese Trump supporter, anybody, we're starting to recognize each other. It's on a subconscious level.
Yeah.
Tell me that's not bearer?
Of course. Yeah.
Right? Basically, anybody normal, you're like, when you're talking to someone and you get the sense like, oh, this guy seems like pretty cool. He's normal.
Yeah.
He's probably a
Trump supporter. By normal, we don't mean necessarily like white bread and people with no personality.
I'm talking about somebody who understands shtick.
Yeah.
That to me, that's the primary litmus test of whether or not a person is a soulful, normal person.
Yeah.
Okay? Because if you understand shtick, you know what that means?
Yeah.
That means you're not looking to be offended. You're not looking to be a victim. You're not looking for a villain.
If you can sit through 30 minutes of what's his name? Don Rickles, then you're a normal human being.
Right. If you have a sense of humor, you don't take yourself and everything that you're involved in like it's the most important thing in the world.
You take important things. You take important things seriously, not unimportant things seriously.
Right, but at the same time, you have some sense of like, all right, there's, I don't have to like, you gotta chill out a little bit and put things in perspective.
Yeah.
And you gotta calm down. You gotta stop, just kind of like sucking the life out of people.
Yeah.
You have to have some awareness of your effect on people around you. You understand? Not hyper aware, but just you can't be a heavy person.
Yeah.
If you're a heavy person, you don't have any shtick.
Yeah.
You can't detect shtick.
Yeah.
Okay? So basically, I think that whether or not a person can detect shtick or not is a litmus test of many other things. Like, it's not perfect, but in many ways, these are the people that can hang. Because if you're a person who has a high level of responsibility, okay, you got a stressful job, and a lot of people count on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're in the thick of it all the time, right? Like you're a soldier in battle, let's say, right? You're on the front lines. That's when you need to be around people who can keep it together and even have a little bit of whimsy.
Yeah, but bring levity to the crappy situation.
A little bit, they just kind of like not to forget that we're human beings and that not everything is always horrible and everything's, like you have to have a little bit of like spit in the devil's face.
But can I tell you something? Do you know what I noticed? Despite all
you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean by spit in the devil's face?
Yeah. No, but like what I always wondered about was that for all the comedians that we have in our nation, in the Jewish nation, we have all these comedians, and we're always making comedy because we want to deal with our tragedy. But you look at the Torah, there's very little sarcasm in the Torah. Sarcastic. There's like maybe one sarcastic moment in the entire Chumash, the entire Torah.
Okay, I would disagree, but which moment are you talking about?
The one that stands out to me, it's basically like, essentially, the people telling Moshe Rabbeinu, "Oh, you brought us all the way out here to die." That's one.
There's not enough cemeteries in Egypt. You had to bring us out here.
Yeah, and then and then the other one is when what's her face found out that she's pregnant, and then she laughed, kind of chuckled.
Yeah, but none of that is real sarcasm. Like if we study it,
I understand. I'm just saying. I just felt I just felt like I remember when I first came to yeshiva, I felt like no one had the sense of humor that I have, and I felt stifled. It wasn't just in my yeshiva. It was in the entire yeshiva shvelt. I literally felt like I'm like, does anybody laugh at dumb stuff anymore around here? Like I literally felt like I was just like I remember like I met this one guy. Actually, ironically, he was in the top shiur. He was a Talmid Chacham guy in my yeshiva. This guy from Hungary, and he was one of my roommates, and he and I had shtick. So I'm just sitting there, I'm just like, why do I have shtick with the guy who's the biggest Talmid Chacham in this place, but the guys who are like people like me who grew up, Bali Tshuva, can't laugh at anything anymore. Because
you know who? Okay.
What are they, monks?
Okay, first of all, look, something happened to
Terrible.
Something happened to you know what it is? You have the Hasidim here in the United States, right?
Yeah.
Who are trying to be an echo or a reflection of what they think the Hasidim were like back in Europe. When the Hasidim back in Europe were nothing but shtick.
I know.
Okay? Think about, for instance, Shmuel Munkus. You've heard of Shmuel Munkus?
Who is?
He was one of the Hasidim of the Alter Rebbe.
Okay.
And of whom the Alter Rebbe said he is a tzaddik gomer. He was a complete tzaddik, according the way it's described in Tanya.
Shmuel Munkus, yeah.
Shmuel Munkus,
known for his wit.
And for he was puckish. Do you understand? He messed with everybody. and he was the wise guy of the bunch, but a holy wise guy.
Yeah.
One time, and here's the kind of stuff that he did, for instance, right? He went to the Alter Rebbe's house, right? And his house had a gate, and he hung himself upside down from the gate. And the Alter Rebbe was passing by. He goes, Shmuel, what's going on over here? Like, what are you doing? He goes, look, the baker has bread hanging in his window. The butcher has meat hanging in his window. Mm-hmm. The Rebbe should have a chassid hanging in his window.
Heck? That's hilarious.
Yeah, and he would mess.
You want to talk about meta? That's like meta stuff, but that's actually funny.
No, that's not meta.
I'm kidding.
No way.
It's more like Monty Python kind of deal.
Yeah.
Jewish Monty Python. No, so what's up with these guys? Like, so. So,
for instance, tell you just to give you a sense of the type of people. Mendel Fudafest, right? Famous chassid.
Yeah.
Right? And imprisoned many years, Siberia, suffered a long time. Okay? And he was very wise. He was a big mashpia. And people would come to him.
Yeah.
And, this is like standard. He'd be like, some guy would come to him and goes, Reb Mendel, I'm having such problems with my son. Mm-hmm. Well, what's going on? He's like, oh, he's obsessed with women, right? And he craves non-kosher food. Yeah. He goes, this is not a problem. He goes, it would be a problem if he wanted to eat women, right? And was in love with the food.
Yeah,
that would be a problem.
I heard this.
Your stuff is standard.
Yeah.
That's not. Yeah. So, and I remember, can't remember. Could have been Manus Friedman, I guess. He was talking about when he got there, when he came to 770, when he came to visit the Rebbe, after the Rebbe had become Rebbe. This is I guess in the 50s or maybe early 60s. And he came with his buddy, another famous chassid. And I regret that I don't remember his name. I really regret that, okay? But there was this one incident where he was trying to get his attention. I don't remember what the exact context was, right? But Mendel Fudafest kind of slapped him in the back of the head, mm-hmm. right? Which was a standard thing in Russia.
Yeah.
Hasidim didn't wince at it. They were like a hardy bunch. They were strong. They were tough.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, but this time, his buddy kind of winced. And Mendel's like, oh, you spend 2 days in America and already you're soft.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? They looked at us like we're soft.
Yeah.
Because they were hard as F. Do you understand? They were rough.
Yeah.
They were really, really, really. There's this expression. There's they had minds of silk and stomachs of leather. Yeah. We're the opposite. Right? Yeah. Minds of leather and stomachs of silk.
Yeah.
So these were these are macho guys. They really were, but not for the sake of it, just because.
Yeah. They had to be.
It was a way of it was kind of a stoicism in a sense.
Yeah.
But for God.
Yeah.
Okay. They wanted to become accustomed to experience what God was giving them to experience. Okay, so you had to be tough. Okay, and they were they joked around with each other a lot, and they didn't get hurt. Yeah. They weren't so delicate.
I know.
Everything's so delicate now. They weren't delicate with each other, and nobody got hurt, and everything. If you heard the old Farbrengens from yesteryear.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
What, 20 years ago?
20 years ago. I'm talking about I'm talking about 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So maybe more. So I'm just saying they took it seriously. They really ripped each other apart.
Yeah.
But it was out of love. Nobody thought anybody was doing it vindictively.
Yeah.
They were not snowflakes. They were tough.
Yeah.
But full of love. Okay? And also they were the highest intellectuals in the world. Few people don't, when you think of Hasidim, these are the greatest philosophical minds.
Yeah.
And spiritual minds.
Yeah.
Those are two different things. Okay?
Yeah.
So, somebody like Yoel Kahn, you know what I mean? He was he had like 78 Aristotles, kind of like hanging on to one thread of his beard.
Yeah.
Like that mind of his is like, anyway.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying that Aristotle was such a great guy. I'm just saying that, like, he was able to think. He was able to contemplate. I'm not sure his conclusions were correct. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were tough.
So can you explain? Yeah. So what's up with these guys then?
So it's a sign of the times. It's a sign of. It's a preparation for something new. You understand? Like, it's not. We don't see the finished product yet. It can't be. Right? Snowflakes can't be. This is whatever we're seeing falls into the category of the Sitra Achra gets it first.
Yeah.
Okay? For instance, Adam and Chava are one being, right? God created Adam as male, female being, right? It had this androgynous, it was connected to each other. There was a consciousness which is both male and female, right? So we're seeing that now, right? We're going to return to that in the right way, what it meant in the way that God had created it, that type of male-female union, right? But what we're seeing now is that concept, but the Sitra Achra gets it first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, right? With the transgender shit, right?
Yeah.
The fluid sexuality, all this kind
I
of.
wrote about this. I wrote about Rabbi Bax. Wrote about it even before I got turned on to Rabbi Bax stuff. I wrote about it just like 4 years ago. About the whole,
Yeah.
Adam and Hava.
All of these things, like wokeness, right? All these stuff. Like, this is the Eisav, the Sitra Achra takes these things, which are really the light of Mashiach, the light from the future, and they clownify it.
No, because if you think about it, like, sometimes I think about, like, what are the grievances of these people, right? They do have a point. They're talking about stuff that America did, that it never really atoned for. I'm not saying America has to pay $14 trillion in reparations if it's not able to, but it never really, the stuff that they teach, just kind of like, and like I say, like, they gloss over.
They don't have a point.
No. Just hear me out. Meaning they don't, just in the same way they don't teach Jewish history in the Beit HaMikdash in American schools. They don't tell you that, Dafka, Columbus did rape the hell out of everybody. They did.
He did not. He did not rape the hell out of everybody.
Listen, they did stuff when they landed. It wasn't freaking patty cake, baker's man, okay? It wasn't.
Look. Here's a basic formula, which it's not perfect, but it works more often than it doesn't, okay? Whatever the lefties are claiming, right? Cut it in half.
Yeah.
Then cut it in half again, and slice a tenth off of it, and that's the reality.
No, I understand, but what I'm saying is, even if what they're claiming is something in between what you're saying and what they're saying, it doesn't invalidate the existence of America and its greatness. Because,
not only that,
because the entirety of human history is just a bunch of people raping each other and taking over land and living and creating and then deal with it and grow up.
Hang on. Here's why.
Babies.
Here's why they don't have an argument. I'll tell you why. Everybody has to come to terms with things that they did that weren't right. That's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
But you don't take the one who did the least of it and make them the main one. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't take the ones who established a precedent of no slavery and make them into the greatest slavery.
If anything, they should go to Europe or go to, I don't know, the Arab world and go talk to them.
Yeah, which still engages in slavery.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's what they're doing. It's the lie of all lies. They're taking the ones who tried to fix and who's had the most success.
Who have the most guilt about what they did also. Who have the most like remorse.
Right.
And fought wars over it.
Right. If you would have said, let's say, some leftist, right? Like, let's say you transform them to somebody normal, right? And then, they want to say it like this, like, look, guys, you Americans, you guys are really something else. You did it. You did the things that you have accomplished and the good that you've done for the world is incalculable. And you really, they tell the truth about American accomplishments, right? And then they say, that being said, there are some minor imperfections. There are some things that it would have been better had they not happened. Every American would be like, you're 100% right. There wouldn't even be a discussion.
Yeah.
It would be settled right then and there.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's not what's happening. They're trying to take the person or the people who did the most for the world.
They're throwing baby
and try to make them look like they're the most evil ever.
The baby out with the bathwater. Yeah. Hold on a second.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
We got to wrap it up. So
Yeah.
I got to call my dad.
So.
But listen. No, but hold on. So I wanted to bring it. It was interesting that remember we were talking about Eisav and the 26s?
Yeah.
So it did. I was not conscious. I was not doing that consciously.
I know. Acho que é uma prótese.
Aside from this is episode 26, so we got to bring it back to that somehow.
Yeah.
So we got Eisav, who has that mighty 26, the top 26 of all of Yitzchak's 26s, and he had them all. Okay, and the number 8 represents infinity.
Yeah.
Eisav got the 8th 26. What does that mean? The number 7, that's related to the creation, right? The world that God had created. It took 7 days.
Yeah.
7, right? There's 7 is encoded into nature itself.
Yeah.
There's 7 musical notes and 7 visible colors. There's a lot of 7s actually. Okay?
Yeah.
So, in nature. So, but 8 represents that what is above nature. That what is beyond the actual creation story. Yeah. The Olam tikkun. The infinitely higher, out of control, holy energy that no vessels are yet to contain them.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm sure, I have a feeling that 26 is connected. That 8th 26 is connected to that idea. Okay? And so, and Eisav was holding on to that. So he had this volatile, holy energy that's barely containable. And then, of course, he was being attacked by all the evil, creepy crawlies, on the spiritual plane. They divulged. They didn't divulge. They invested all of their, if they had armies, right? All of their force, all their military might was there just to contain Eisav.
Well, can I tell you something? The creepy crawlies, we spoke about the Cuomo guys, we spoke about all these things that are seemingly, finally looking like the lights in the end of the tunnel. So today, Juicy Smouillet, the actor from France, he was found...
He's also gay.
And he was found guilty today. So
not just French.
Yeah. He's French. Yeah, he's like, but also. So
very French.
By the way, that was the most perfect skit I've seen in recent memory. Obviously you got upset.
I like it. I like it, which is why when Dave Chappelle crapped in my heart, it makes it even more painful because it is good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So today he wasn't sentenced but he was found guilty of his deceptive crimes. So I'm telling you, man, it's just happening left and right, slowly. We're seeing
a little too slow.
It's a little too slow, but you know what? And now we're seeing these stupid lefties coming around and saying that MS has to, actually it's two Jewish people, Tapper and Silverman.
Tapper is Jewish?
His father is. His mother converted. He actually went to day school, Tapper. In Philly, I believe. Yeah. And so he's saying the MS has to be paramount, and then Silverman is saying the MS has to. These people are coming out. They're saying, like, at the end of the day, these people probably have been sitting for a while and thinking, at the end of the day, a comedian has to be attached to MS. As unfunny as she is and as crass as she is, she is attached to MS. Just like a journalist, a real journalist, if he calls himself a journalist in his own head, has to know have a conscience about that he's attached to emes, and he's gonna at some point sit down and say, just like David Mamet sat down and said to himself, well, crap, if I'm gonna be a playwright, I can't be a part of this nonsense.
Yeah, David Mamet of all.
Yeah.
They should call him David Emmett instead of David Mamet.
Yeah. No. Listen, people, self-respecting people, at some point, come to the conclusion that the truth will set you free. So.
Yeah.
B'ezrat Hashem, I don't know. Who knows? Too little, too late. Maybe it's never too late. Who knows? Better late than never. Whatever,
Yeah. So in conclusion, Yaakov finally caught up with Eisav on in Mount Seir.
Yeah, and that's where Eisav.
Where Eisav. Well, again, being judged means being. What's the word? You're being. When you're being. Like when you're being. They're judging you to see whether or not you're fit for this kind of job. You're being assessed.
Evaluated.
You're being assessed.
It's
But not to be punished, but whether it's time to rejoin, to come back to the family.
Yeah. Initiated, whatever you want to call it. Hazed.
Right. So step number 1 of rejoining Israel, experience what it's like to be persecuted by the Sitra Achra.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Right? Everybody's getting a taste of that.
Yeah.
These mandates, they're trying to kill us. Gates, and everybody that he represents, that whole crew.
Do you know what he said today, Gates? You know what he said? He said, man, it's so sad that this thing wasn't able to brainwash everybody, and now clearly this is going to end, and it's just going to be an endemic. And he goes, every winter there's going to be like whatever. We're going to have to deal with this thing. And he said, but he was just like lamenting how clearly we didn't, whatever. And by the way, Elon Musk came out after, the same day probably and said, by the way, we think that there's a lot of people on planet Earth, but the actual birth rates, he goes, if we keep going the way that we're going, civilization is just going to collapse because our birth rates are very low. In reality, he's like, check the numbers. You think, okay, 8 billion people on the planet, that doesn't tell you anything. It's BS.
Right, that has to continue. People have to reproduce in order to maintain that.
We have a worker shortage. Most of our skilled workers are older. These are people who are already developed in their career. The young people are like retarded.
Yeah, they don't want to have kids.
Yeah. So he said, and then he said that, so we have Bill Gates lamenting that he didn't kill enough people. And then Elon Musk coming on and saying we need to. So we're turning, B'ezrat Hashem, we're turning a corner. I think we're turning a corner in this whole thing, in this whole story.
And what the hell are we driving? A damn freaking giant Cadillac?
We're driving
like 7 years
we're driving
a
Yugo that keeps breaking down on the road. That's what we're driving.
Driving a sailboat. It takes you need like 5,000 miles to. You know what we're driving? It's actually the opposite. Like the what was that the fastest plane that America ever produced that they ever used on missions, the Firefox.
You're talking about the
Blackbird.
Oh yeah.
What was it? I'm trying to remember
I'm thinking
SR-71.
The
SR-71 Blackbird.
Oh, okay.
Right, it was going like at 3. It was going like like Mach 3 and up.
Yeah.
Right, but in order to make a turn, it took like half of the continental United States to make a turn, right? Like you couldn't turn on a dime.
Yeah.
Okay, so that feels like
that's what we're doing.
This turn is taking a long time.
Yeah, That's how these things work.
So now I believe the fact that everybody who's in the same boat, who understands what's going on with the vaccines, who has a consciousness of it, right?
Yeah.
Especially those from the non-Jewish world, right?
Yeah.
That is Eisav coming back into the fold.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so they're experiencing what it's like to be Israel now.
There's a spiritual revolution with them happening. And there's also a spiritual evolution with, quote unquote Jews who don't keep, Torah and mitzvahs, who you notice are very tapped in.
Yeah.
And Baruch Hashem, it's bringing them back. I was always wondering how is Hashem going to bring those people back, and He's doing it.
Yeah, and the Jews who aren't conscious of it, they're being grandfathered in, basically.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about that as well.
Yeah. All right, so.
Yeah. What
did we say? From a coronation to coronation.
We gotta crown the king.
Yeah.
That top 26 that Eisav has, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, that spiritual energy, right? And again, Eisav, he's associated with the head, right? The good part of Eisav, the part that needs to be saved, right?
Yeah.
Eisav has a Jewish head.
Yeah.
By the way,
it's buried in Marat HaMachpelah, so
it is
right.
Right. When Husham ben Dan, right, he knocked off Eisav's head, right?
Yeah.
And so that that part, that's where it belonged, right? What's very interesting? You ever see the movie Baron von Munchausen?
I know the name, but I never saw the movie.
This awesome movie from the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Late 1989,
mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the story is well known, but the movie was awesome. So basically they had in the Baron's adventures, right? He had these sidekicks which all had these superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he ended up on the moon, and the king and the queen of the moon were these weird kind of giants, right?
Yeah.
And they could disconnect their heads from their bodies.
Terry Gilliam directed it. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So it's a Monty Python expression,
mm-hmm.
right? So basically, the Robin Williams played the king of the moon. So when he was connected to his body,
Robin Williams, really?
Yeah, Robin Williams played the king of the moon.
He's not in the movie. There's Eric Idle.
Robin Williams, just trust me. Robin Williams played.
I'm looking it up now. He's not. 1988.
I don't know why you must dispute me. Just hear me out.
I'm not disputing.
Okay?
I'm reading you the credits.
Correct, Zaybal, man. Just let me say it.
Anyway, okay, fine.
Robin Williams played the king of the moon, and both the king and the queen were able to disconnect their heads from their bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when Robin Williams, when the head was disconnected, he was like this free, spiritual, enlightened being he was always trying to run away from the body.
Oh yeah,
the body was always
He's in the movie. Yeah, he's right. Yeah.
The body was always trying to pull the head back on.
That's funny.
And then when the body finally grabbed the head and put it on,
mm-hmm.
all of a sudden he turned red, and he turned into this pig, this horn dog. He's like this this glutton, this crass kind of zlob.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then finally, when he in the end of the movie, or not the end of the movie, but the end of that segment of the movie,
mm-hmm.
the body was killed.
Yeah.
And Robin Williams, the head was flying free. He was so ecstatic. He's like, I'm free. I'm floating. He was doing an impression of some kind of
so weird,
some kind of guru. He was even doing the accent, the Indian, right?
Yeah. So
basically that reminded me of Eisav.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of what's happening right now for Eisav.
You know who else in that movie, by the way? Uma Thurman's in it, and Sting is in it. So weird.
Yes.
She must have been super young, Uma Thurman, in that movie.
We shouldn't even discuss it.
Anyway. I like when I mentioned some, well, I guess at that time, attractive women in movies.
That was Uma at her dopest.
Yeah.
That was dopest Uma ever.
That was before Oprah, Uma Oprah introduction.
I don't know that one.
At the Oscars. Whatever, what's his name? Made this kind of joking. Steve Martin. It was when he hosted the Oscars, he was like, Uma, Oprah, Uma. Whatever.
Steve Martin.
Anyway. Oh, it was David Letterman. It was David Letterman, not Steve Martin. I don't know why I thought it was Steve Martin. I just insulted David Letterman. I'm sorry, David Letterman. Letterperson.
Is it an insult, Steve Martin? I don't know. I was lucky enough to avoid not to avoid knowing what his political stances are, I would assume, but
I don't know.
Whatever.
In any event,
he had his moments.
Yeah, hopefully Eisav now will.
Eisav is now back in the family like he was always supposed to, and that's very important for two reasons. Again, like we said, what Eisav represents, the power that he holds, that he wields, and also the fact that he is Yitzchak's beloved son.
Yeah.
And Isaac is said to be he's going to be the primary, he's going to come to the forefront of all the fathers, of all of the three forefathers in the times of Mashiach.
Yeah.
Okay? Yitzchak will be our primary forefather.
Yeah.
Right? And who's Yitzchak's favorite? Eisav. We got to bring Eisav back.
Yeah.
So it's getting close.
Well, my friend just sent me a meme. The year is 2040. You're eating from your weekly ration tube of cricket paste in your self-driving electric car that only allows you to get to work and back. You get home and you're greeted by your non-binary they friend as your child comes in saying, thinking a crime. Wholesome. What the flip? And anyways. Oh man!
I don't have any dread of anything like that because we have a better perspective of where we're heading.
Yeah.
I don't like the bumps.
Yeah.
That's it.
Anyway, sir, it's been real. Once again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Crown the king.
We gotta crown the king. That's it. It's enough.
Put the corona on the king's head.
Next week's parsha is Vaychi, and we have to now. We have to know. What is it? Yaakov has to finish the sentence. He has to tell us who Mashiach is. Instead of just fading away at the end of the sentence.
Baruch Hashem that he did. You know why? Because had they known that Mashiach was going to come almost 4,000 years later, they would not have been able to handle that.
Yeah, it's a famous thing. Just like the tzaddikim, a contemporary tzaddikim said they wouldn't be able to handle living in the era that we're living in now. We can barely handle living in it.
Yeah, so we, it's pretty urgent.
Yeah,
it's pretty urgent. Like I'm hoping that this is, episode 26 is the last one because Mashiach came.
Yeah, well,
if you're gonna have a final episode, 26 is a good number because Mashiach came. Otherwise, it's not a good number.
But people are enjoying the show, so we even after Mashiach comes, we should continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we'll just talk about all the things that we see happening, like, stuff we didn't expect, like, what we see when we see T.S. Mason, or we could talk about like how Moshe Rabbeinu is, what our impressions of him, or Avram Avinu.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that before I meet any of like anybody like Moshe Rabbeinu, I need to like spend like 1,000 years in the mikvah, and then like another 1,000 years, deeply engrossed in study and meditation before I can go anywhere.
But you realize we will all have been purified automatically, and also we will be, what is that? I heard that, what is that thing that all the Jews are going to know, like we'll all be able to speak Hebrew out of nowhere.
Everybody will speak with one language.
Yeah, right? So and we'll know.
And the knowledge of God will cover the earth like the oceans.
Yeah, like we'll know way more Torah than we know now. So, and it'll be a different Torah, supposedly, allegedly. So,
it's not a different Torah. The Torah that we're going to be learning, we've been getting previews of that Torah with the Ari and with the
It'll be the rest of the Torah that we're missing.
Right. and Chassidus. All of that is the preview of that, of the same Torah that we always had. And, you know, that's it.
Yeah. All right. Shkoyach.
Shkoyach. Yeshar kochachot.
Chazak ubaruk.
Hazak ubaru.
All right.
All right, brother.
Talk to you soon.